And we welcome you to Arizona, where the Redskins at 1-4 take on the Cardinals at 3-1. And the big story all week long for the Cardinals, and not settled until pregame warm-ups, is the veteran Carson Palmer, who has been inactive for 3 games with a nerve injury in his neck. Flew to Denver after practice on Friday, cleared to play, as is Drew Stanton, who's had concussion problems. And Logan Thomas, the only healthy quarterback, is also active, so it's been a wild week for the Cardinals. And Carson Palmer, who led the victory over San Diego in the first week of the season, we're set to go. Dick Stockton along with Brady Quinn, and we're underway. The Cardinals have won the toss, and they'll get the ball first, and they'll start from the 20-yard line. So Carson Palmer, the 34-year-old veteran, in that Week 1 victory, threw 3 late touchdowns to lead the Cardinals to the victory over San Diego.
They're really looking for some stability at this position. They've had 3 quarterbacks step under center in the first 4 weeks of the season. So if they want to stay on top of the NFC West, they're going to need a little more consistency at that position. And
when you consider the injuries to the quarterback and so many injuries on defense, doing it with the mirrors, amazing they're 3-1, but Drew Stanton engineered the victories after Palmer in the opener. Starting from the 20, first down, play action on first down, and the pass will be caught by John Carlson, the former Viking and your former buddy at Notre Dame. Let's take a look at the Cardinals offense, and they have some impressive weapons, Brady, but the offense has produced just enough to win those 3 games.
Yeah, they've got a talented offense, but I think when you look at Larry Fitzgerald, he's going to be moving around a little bit more. He's their leading guy. He's the guy they need to get the ball to.
And we have an injury. Brandon Merriweather, the strong safety for the Redskins, is shaken up here. And, of course, one of the problems the Redskins defense has is the fact that you've got 2 young corners in this game, and you would think Palmer will want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, they'll need all the veteran leadership they can get in that back end. They really rely on Ryan Clark and Brandon Merriweather to communicate about the calls and figure out the coverages, play in and play out.
Jay Gruden, whose team thrashed by Seattle, and Russell Wilson playing a fantastic game with his arm and his legs on Monday night. And so Merriweather will come out, and Trenton Robinson in his 3rd year, and has one of the 2 interceptions for the Redskin defense has replaced him. Bruce Arians, who said, boy, in my 20 years, I have never not known who my quarterback was going to be on Friday. And undefeated at home against non-division foes. First down on the 33 after that 15-yard pickup. And the swing pass out to Michael Floyd, and the Redskins are there alertly, led by David Amerson, the cornerback. Well, the Redskins on defense, and they're going to lose Perry Riley for this game, but their game plan is obvious, Brady.
Yeah, they need to stop the run first, so they're going to have to be stout up front, and then they'd like to get some pressure on Carson Palmer, test out that shoulder, see how healthy it really is. And,
of course, also protect those young corners. Amerson, who made that last play, and Bashaud Breeland, the rookie from Clemson. Loss of 1. Another play-action play. Palmer has time, and the pass is incomplete. And John Carlson claiming he was held by Will Compton, who's playing in place of Perry Riley at linebacker.
Well, it looked like he was held to some degree. We saw in practice Friday, John Carlson was one of their favorite targets to go to. They really want to get him involved in the game, especially downfield with some of their different play-action passes. So look for that as the game wears on.
And there's the pass, and Carlson may have a point there with Compton over him. So Compton getting the call today. Been in special teams previous to this start. Robert Hughes has come on and is to the left of Carson Palmer on 3rd down and 11. Here comes the pressure, and the pass is going to be caught by Carlson. And he is knocked out of bounds by Trenton Robinson, and so the Redskins defense holds against the veteran Palmer. Good pressure there by Compton, and 4th down, and the Cardinals will kick.
Defensive coordinator Jim Haslett wants to bring an all-out blitz early in this game. Try to get some hits on Carson Palmer, and again, test out that shoulder, see if they can wear him down and force him to be able to stand in the pocket tall and deliver throws.
So Drew Butler punting, and Andre Roberts returning to Arizona after playing 4 years with the Cardinals, and on the return going out of bounds and pushed out of bounds by Rashad Johnson. So Andre Roberts returns, and Kirk Cousins starting, making his 7th start, 0-3 this year and 1-6 in his career, and improved greatly against Seattle in a losing effort after that disaster against the Giants.
Yeah, and he's still trying to find his identity in this league, whether he's a starter or a backup. I actually think he plays better coming off the bench. He seems to have a better mentality about it. Doesn't look like he's thinking so much, and he goes out there and plays aggressive.
Like in basketball, the 6th man, right? Starting from the 26, and the pass thrown underneath to Pierre Garçon, and Garçon going out of bounds, picking up a first down and a lot more, 15 yards for the Redskins.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Cardinals match up with the speedy wide receivers for the Washington Redskins. Last week, Antonio Cromartie struggled with Demaryius Thomas. We'll see how well he can match up with Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon on the outside.
And Garçon leading the team in receiving, and had a fantastic year last season. So a first down on the 41. Noise a factor for Kirk Cousins today in this loud stadium. Handoff is to Alfred Morris, and his first carry of the game, and he gets close to midfield on first down. And Deone Buchanan makes the stop after a game of 7. So taking a look at the Redskins offense, and Brady, getting the tight end back, Jordan Reed, could really boost this attack. Yeah, that was a matchup they talked about all week they'd like to utilize, whether it's on a safety or linebacker. They feel like they have a mismatch. Redskins not been able to run effectively this year. Morris coming off his second fewest production yardage since he's been in the league. 2nd and 4. They go back to Morris, and Morris is going to be stopped for 1-yard gain. Larry Foote, the veteran inside backer. Well, the Cardinals have managed to hang in despite being ravaged by injuries. The latest, of course, Calais Campbell, replaced by Kareem Martin today. Yeah, they've been stout up front. Defensive coordinator Todd Bowles for the Arizona Cardinals has done a nice job of, no matter who's in the game, being able to make offenses one-dimensional by stopping the run and forcing them to pass. 3rd down and 3. There is Reed, the tight end. Roy Halou, 4th year from Nebraska, and a good receiver out of the backfield. Decibel level has just gone up here in Arizona. Here comes the pressure on Cousins, and Cousins pass, and unable to get close to it is Deshaun Jackson. The Cardinals sent a lot of people, and the safety Tyrann Mathieu got close to him, so it'll be 4th down, and the Redskins will have to kick. Both teams want to pressure early and try to test out the offensive line on both sides. Todd Bowles likes to do that on 3rd and short. He wants to see if Kirk Cousins can beat them in the passing game. Tress Way will be kicking. That's Ted Ginn Jr., who has returned to punt 71 yards for a touchdown this year against the Giants. He'll settle for the fair catch just outside the 10. Well, Carson Palmer played the entire Week 1 win over the Chargers, but he suffered that shoulder injury in the first half of that game and missed the next 3. And then Drew Stanton replaced him and played well, winning 2 of his 3 starts. Suffered a concussion last week in Denver and was replaced by rookie Logan Thomas. And so Palmer back in the lineup today, making his 2nd start of the season. And the interesting part of all of this is how long will his shoulder hold up? They talked about it during the week. They limited his reps in practice in order to save him for this game. In fact, both Stanton and Palmer took fewer reps compared to Logan Thomas. Here is Andre Ellington. Ellington trying to get loose, picks up good yardage on 1st down. Chris Baker, the nose tackle, making the tackle. And we'll send it down to the 3rd member of our team, Christina Pink.
Thank you, Dick. Well, Bruce Arians always very candid. So when he says he had no idea on Friday who his starting quarterback would be for this game, he meant it. I asked him just before kickoff why Carson Palmer was given the green light to play. He said he is 90% healthy. He is good to go. I also asked him if there was any reason to limit his throws because of the nature of that injury. He said absolutely not. If that was the case, he wouldn't be starting.
All right, Christina, thank you very much for the update. 2nd down and 4 on the 17, and here is Ellington. And Ellington will be stopped short about 3 yards shy of the first down by the defensive end Jarvis Jenkins. A pickup of 2 there.
And one of the big keys for this Arizona offense will be running the football, being able to have success on first and second down, stay in third and short, and take some of the pressure off of Carson Palmer since he's had 3 weeks off. Allow him to get into the game, get into a nice rhythm. So they'll continue to keep pounding the football and trying to stay in third and short so they can be two-dimensional and keep the whole playbook in play.
Brady, it really opens up so many things when you can run the ball, and they have to pay attention to it. So 3rd down and 2. Palmer gets the pressure, and the pass is caught by Ellington out of the backfield. A first down for the Cardinals, and the play is made by Amerson after a pickup of 4, and Brian Orakpo very nearly got to Palmer.
Washington brought a pressure from the weak side there. Carson Palmer saw it and was able to get it out to his hot throw in the flat, Andre Ellington. Nice conversion for the first down.
You know, I asked Orakpo after going against Russell Wilson last week and what he was able to do. This is almost not quite like a vacation, but close to it, facing a conventional quarterback. First down, and here is Ellington going outside. Here is Ellington getting a first down past the 40-yard line. So the Cardinals effective with the running game, and Bashaud Breeland, the cornerback, brings him down, and after the pickup of 18 yards for Ellington.
Arizona is able to be effective because their tight ends do a nice job of setting the edge for their running back and making sure he can get outside. John Carlson, Rob Hausler, they both do a fantastic job on their double teams of pinning that end defender on the line of scrimmage and allowing Ellington to get a burst and get upfield.
And what a luxury having Ellington, an all-purpose back. He's on the sideline now, and Stephon Taylor has replaced him. Little breather for Ellington. And the pass going the other way to Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald getting away and very nearly getting a first down. Lost the ball, but covered up. And a 9-yard gain for Larry Fitzgerald, who's tied for the lead in receiving coming into this game, Brady, with his team, but the fewest of his career.
He hasn't been quite as productive, but he is still the leading receiver on this team.
So 154 consecutive games with a reception. Jerry Rice has the NFL record. You ready for this? 274. And the player down is David Amerson. So an injury on the field of play. So here we are, Brady Quinn. We're in Arizona, and you know, a tremendous discussion all week long as to who would be the quarterback. You know, how much of a distraction would that be?
It can be a distraction to a lot of guys on the team, but the center in particular, because he's got to deal with different quarterbacks' cadences, different guys under center, how they take the snap and how they handle the huddle. So the center, more than anyone, is the one that feels that sort of pressure and would like to know who's going to be his quarterback going into a game.
2nd down and 1. E.J. Biggers is in the game. Another play-action play, and the pass thrown underneath, and they're not going to make it. Stephon Taylor stopped by Ryan Kerrigan, preventing the first down. That'll bring up 3rd down and 1. Kerrigan, who is tied for the lead in the NFL with 6 quarterback sacks.
Yeah, he's done a nice job of making up for some of what the Washington Redskins lack in the secondary. They've been able to get pressure on quarterbacks. They're 3rd in the league in sacks. So they're going to try to utilize 4-man fronts using pressures and pick stunts and things of that nature to try to get to the quarterback.
So you can see the Cardinals preferring to put the ball in the air, mostly with play action. More than a 2-to-1 ratio. It'll be 3rd down and 1. Double tight end, tight formation. And here's the running play to Taylor. And Taylor is going to be stopped a yard short at midfield. And it was Orakpo and Biggers. Redskins aggressively preventing the first down. And so good stop there. And Butler will come in to kick.
The Redskins got the better of the Arizona Cardinals on that play. They were able to set the edge and not allow the Cardinals to get outside. You would expect them to run a little more downhill in that particular situation.
So Drew Butler, the punter down, Dave Zastudil finally on injured reserve with the groin injury, and Andre Roberts with the fair catch at the 16-yard line. Well, the Redskins have struggled this year. They fell to Houston in week 1. A week later, they lost Robert Griffin III to an ankle injury. So Kirk Cousins entered the scene, threw a total of 5 touchdown passes in weeks 2 and 3 as they beat the Jaguars and narrowly lost to the Eagles, but they've fallen on hard times, losing their last 2 against the Giants and Seahawks by a combined 72-31 score. And there is Robert Griffin III, dislocated left ankle, hasn't practiced this year.
I watched him warming up before the game. He looked like he's almost ready to be able to get back into things. He looked pretty healthy to me.
Redskins starting this drive from the 17. No score. Cousins with the short drop. Swings it out to Morris, who drops the ball.
The Washington Redskins are going to need to have success on first down if they want to take some of the pressure off of Kirk Cousins and keep them out of 3rd and long and give them an opportunity to work the ball down the field.
You know, Brady, this is a team that hasn't been able to keep drives going. 3rd down conversion, 6th worst in the league. Jay Gruden.
And what plays a part in that is their success on 1st and 2nd down and be able to keep it within 3rd and manageable.
2nd down and 10. And we'll have a penalty marker. And Ed Hockley.
False start offense, number 82.
Logan Paulson, the tight end.
Down.
Ed Hockley, who used to live in this area, now resides in San Diego. In his 25th year, as you saw, Redskins, one of the most penalized teams in the league yardage-wise, but they really cut it down. Only 3 called against the Seahawks last Monday.
They cut it down last week, but it seems like they're off to a bad start so far in this game. And again, they're only making it harder for them to be able to convert on 3rd down when they continue to put themselves in 1st and long and 2nd and long situations.
3 wide receivers line up to the left. 2nd and 15. And here is Morris and Ed Stinson, the rookie from Alabama, who's playing up front. Boy, this Cardinal defensive team, you look at names that were not there a year ago. Names such as John Abraham, Darnell Dockett, Campbell recently, Darrell Washington, Carlos Dansby. What a defense they had last year.
They really did, but they've done a nice job of being able to find people, veteran players, who've been able to step in and still get the job done.
3rd down and 14. You don't have to urge this crowd to get loud. Cousins, and thrown behind Jordan Reed, incomplete. Might have been a play that Reed should have made, but it brings up 4th down.
This is one of the pressure looks that defensive coordinator Todd Bowles likes to bring. He likes to put in his nickel and dime packages and try to confuse the offensive linemen with their identifications up front. Right there, you know, just a little bit pass behind Jordan Reed. Had it been out in front where he can catch and run, he might have been able to get a few yards, but I still don't think in 3rd and 15 they're getting a 1st down.
Tress Way kicking from inside the 5. Ted Ginn Jr. running up and already in Redskin territory, and as he steps out of bounds close to the 40-yard line, and a great field position coming up for the Cardinals. Well, tonight it's game 2 of the National League Championship Series as the Giants look to take a 2-0 series lead while the Cardinals look to even it up. Coverage begins tonight after football only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. And the probable starters, Jake Peavy and Lance Lynn. And last night, what a performance by Madison Bumgarner. 7 2/3 shutout innings as the Giants won 3-0.
He's really been pitching lights out. Wow. And that's what playoff baseball is about. It's all about pitching.
That's the name of that game, no question. 1st down for Palmer. Good field position. And Palmer gets pressure and off the hands of Michael Floyd.
It sure doesn't seem Bruce Arians is concerned at all about his shoulder. I mean, for how many times they've thrown the ball so far in this 1st quarter, I don't know if if they see something that they like as far as a matchup, but from what they told us earlier in the week, they wanted to be a little bit more balanced and run the football.
And who's better than Bruce Arians, working with different quarterbacks over the years, and we'll tell you a lot of who that is. David Amerson, who was shaken up earlier, back in at cornerback for the Redskins. 2nd down and 10 at the 41. Here's Ellington. Not much there. And let's go out to L.A. Joel Klatt with a game break. Joel.
All right, Dick, let's go out to Seattle, where a terrible start for Dallas. Doug Baldwin blocks the punt. Mike Morgan takes it in for the touchdown, and Seattle is all over the Cowboys early. It's 10-0. Back to Arizona, Dick and Brady.
That's not good with the 12th man being down 10-zip.
No, and Seattle's probably the best team in all the NFL playing at home. And you gotta get off to a fast start if you want to compete with them.
Well, the Cowboys did not do that today, that's for sure. 3rd down and 8. And we have contact and a penalty. Bruce Arians saying it should be against the Redskins. Some of the Cardinals trying to voice their vote.
And that's what you get with a veteran quarterback like Carson Palmer. He's going to use the cadence to try to draw them off sides and either get a free play or be able to get a free 5 yards.
False start offense, number 12. Player on the defense who came into the neutral zone was too far away under the rules for neutral zone infraction. Therefore, it's 3rd down, 5-yard penalty.
So the penalty against John Brown, and Ed Hockley explaining why it was not a neutral zone infraction.
Yeah, unfortunately, whenever you use the cadence, it can work against you, especially with a young player and a rookie like John Brown. He should be watching the football. He shouldn't be listening to the cadence.
John Brown is an up-and-comer with this team. Leads his club with 3 touchdown receptions. So now on 3rd down and 13, Robert Hughes again comes in at the running back position. Palmer getting time, and his pass, was the catch made? Yes. Reception is made right at the 32. Was there enough for the 1st down? Michael Floyd on the receiving end.
Well, Carson Palmer looks as healthy as ever. That was just a very fluid, nice stroke, and right on time and right on the money.
Let's see if both feet were in bounds, and of course the control. Looks like he did drag the right foot.
Yeah, you definitely caught the ball and dragged the foot in bounds. It's whether or not he got past the 1st down marker. It looked a little short to me.
Maybe by a couple of inches, Brady.
1st down. He got it.
13-yard play right here.
And they're going to continue to try to utilize the soft coverage on the outside. Washington has such young corners in Breland and Emerson, so if those guys are going to play 8 to 10 yards off, they'll keep taking those easy throws and completions in front of them and work the ball down the field.
Michael Floyd has been a big play receiver, averaging nearly 20 yards a catch. Breland, the rookie from Clemson, making his 3rd start of the season. So a 1st down for the Cardinals on the Redskin 31. Andre Ellington trying to go off the left side, breaks a tackle and gets a 1st down as he goes out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Trenton Robinson, who had replaced Merriweather, missed the tackle, and as a result, Ellington gets 11. And a 1st down for Arizona.
This is a nice job by the Arizona Cardinals offensive line and tight ends being able to create an edge for Andre Ellington. But what he does best is he sets up his blockers so he's able to cut and get outside and upfield.
So the Cardinals are threatening now. They have outrushed the Redskins so far, 39-8. Palmer with the short drop up the middle, and the pass is caught by Floyd for the touchdown. You give Carson Palmer some time, Brady Quinn, he'll find his man.
Yeah, he's going to find the matchup he likes. The safety bites down on the tight end Rob Hausler. He's able to throw up and over top to Michael Floyd for the touchdown.
And the 1st touchdown reception of the season for Floyd. Chandler Catanzaro for the extra point. The rookie from Clemson has been perfect this year, and the Cardinals take a 7-0 lead.
As Carson Palmer drops back, he's going to see the safety bite down over Rob Hauser. He's able to put the ball just enough over top to Michael Floyd for the touchdown. Fantastic throw and catch.
Breland was playing behind Floyd, and Clark came over, so a 5-play, 41-yard drive. And remember, the Cardinals had great field position when they started in Redskin territory.
Touchdown pass set up by the big run by Andre Ellington. They're using the passing game almost to set up the running game.
Carson Palmer in his 12th year out of USC. 8 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, 2 years with Oakland. This is his second year with the Cardinals, who, by the way, a lot of people may not remember 10-6 and not making the playoffs a year ago.
Yeah, I think if you look at the way they finished the season, they were one of the better teams in all the NFL to me. With the way they went out and finished 10-6. I mean, they could legitimately be a contender in this NFC West this year and battle with Seattle.
But you're right, they've got to be consistent in who's going to be their quarterback. So Andre Roberts is back deep. And a returnable ball from 5 yards in the end zone. Roberts. And he gets to about the 17-yard line. Special teams tackle by Kenny Demmons. The return is 23 yards.
Trent Robinson, the safety for Washington, is going to have his eyes on Rob Hausler. So as he releases downfield, he feels him running up. He has to jump him and respect that route. Carson Palmer sees it, and he's going to throw the post route right over top. Perfect design play by Bruce Arians. Nice execution on the part of Palmer and Michael Floyd.
Remember Jim Haslett telling us we got to put pressure on the quarterback to protect our young corners, and they gave Palmer a lot of time to unleash that throw. First down from the 18. Alfred Morris can't break the tackle, and Sam Acho, making his first start of the year, making the tackle. Well, tomorrow on Fox, heroes and villains collide in the new drama everyone's talking about, Gotham. It's the story of the city that transformed a boy into a legend. Catch a new episode tomorrow at 8, 7 Central, right here on Fox. 2nd and 9. And the play is stopped. A false start call coming up.
Offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty and 2nd down.
Tyler Columbus, the right tackle. So this is not what Jay Gruden envisioned. Trailing early and not really getting many yards on first down.
Yeah, they keep going back to their old ways and unfortunately putting themselves in 1st and 2nd and long, and that's not going to help. That last play, they split out Jordan Reed. He's going out of the game now, but they're trying to get some coverage indicators on the outside by moving him around. It's going to help Kirk Cousins figure out which play to go to, or through his progressions, which routes are best.
2nd and 14 from the 14. Cousins again under pressure. Flag is down, penalty marker, and the pass incomplete. This may go against Arizona.
Holding, defense number 50. 5-yard penalty from the previous line of scrimmage. Automatic first down.
Larry Foote with the hold. Well, how about these defensive losses? Dansby now at the Browns. Dockett out for the year. Darrell Washington suspended for the year. John Abraham out for the season. Matt Shaughnessy just put on IR, designated to return. And the list goes on, and the latest, of course, Calais Campbell. First down. And the pass is dropped by Andre Roberts. Roberts started to run before he had control, it appeared, Brady. Spun around, and it'll go incomplete.
Hey, Kirk Cousins threaded the needle on that one. I don't know if I would have went there watching him as he boots out. And Andre Roberts has to come up with that catch in order to continue to move the ball downfield. He's one of the matchups, too, they really liked in the slot. They felt like they continue to work him in the game versus the slot defender.
2nd and 10. That was the best pass that Cousins had thrown so far. He's 1 for 5. Here comes the pressure quickly, and this pass is caught by Jordan Reed, and the tight end trying to edge his way toward the first down marker, cannot. And Rashad Johnson on the tackle. They get 9 out of it. There is Todd Bowles, who talked about what you said. We have versatile players, not first-year guys coming up and filling the bill. But, you know, the more you play backups, they become backups is what they are, right?
Yeah, and they haven't shown that so much right now, but their veteran ability and their experience has kind of shown through. But over the course of the season, that might not be the case.
3rd down and 1. And the pass is caught by Roberts. First down and out of bounds. And wouldn't you know, after that pass that Roberts dropped, they go back to him quickly. And 4 yards and a first down for the Redskins.
Yeah, again, they like that matchup on Gerard Powers in the slot. Andre Roberts and Jordan Reed are the 2 matchups we're going to be looking at throughout the game on 3rd down and in the red zone. Jordan Reed with the catch the play before, with the coverage by Rashad Johnson on the outside. They're going to be moving those guys around a lot.
Ball now at the 32. 45 seconds remaining in the quarter. Here's Alfred Morris. Morris getting unleashed for the first time. And Morris is stopped about 1.5 yards shy of the first down by Tyrann Mathieu. Tell you that defensive penalty against the Cardinals giving the Redskins a second opportunity here.
Yeah, it's helping them to really sustain this drive right now, and they're staying on track, able to run the football, pass the football right now pretty efficiently for the most part. If the Redskins can just stop hurting themselves, they'd be all right.
2nd down and 1. And another flag.
Neutral zone infraction defense, number 92. 5-yard penalty. First
That's
down.
2 defensive penalties on the Cardinals when the Redskins started from the 14th. And now they're up to the 45. Dan Williams, the nose tackle and the only remaining starter of the front 7 who is still healthy. That's the end of the first quarter. Cardinals 7, Redskins nothing. America's Game of the Week will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. So after 1 quarter of play, the Cardinals dominating here, and penalties are close, but keep in mind 2 penalties against the Arizona defense has given the Redskins a little life here, trying to get going offensively.
Yeah, and so far they've had 3 drop passes. Kirk Cousins has done a nice job of getting outside the pocket and giving his wide receivers an opportunity to catch the football. They haven't all been perfect passes, but they've been in places where they've got to make those catches in order to sustain drives. And when you look at them overall as an offense, they just haven't made enough plays. They talked about that during the week. They just need guys to make plays. Sometimes it comes down to that. You can't always talk about schemes and so forth, one versus another.
Brady, they haven't even looked at Deshaun Jackson yet.
No, they haven't, but that's most likely because he's going to be seeing a lot of Patrick Peterson today, and that's arguably the best cornerback in the NFL.
First down on the 45. Dick Stockton, Brady Quinn, and Christina Pink here in Arizona. Play action, Cousins in trouble. Down he goes, way back at the 36. And it was Alex Okafor making his first start. So Acho and Okafor, the outside backers, and a loss, big one of 10.
And again, Todd Bowles continues to get production out of these backup players. We talk about all the injuries they've had, and Alex Okafor in his first start already coming up big. Doing a speed to power rush versus Tyler Columbus is able to get a hand in there on Cousins for the sack.
You know, they don't have a lot of their stars, Brady, but this has been called a chaotic defense.
It has been. Again, he's going to give you a ton of different looks. He's going to put a lot of DBs in there running all around the field, try to confuse you in your protection.
Roy Halou is in the game, 2nd down and 20, has time here, and threads the needle on the slant to Deshaun Jackson, and he's gone. I guess they found him. 64-yard touchdown pass to Deshaun Jackson, who had a 60-yard TD reception against Seattle, and another one for 57 yards, not for a touchdown. So already paying big dividends, the former Eagles star receiver. And the Redskins come back on a 64-yard touchdown pass, and you couldn't draw it up any better, Brady.
No, you couldn't. And right on time, too. Dick, you asked for it. Where is Deshaun Jackson on the field? And he shows up.
Did he ever? So Kai Forbath on for the point after. And the kick is good. So with less than a minute gone by here in the second quarter, the Redskins tie the game.
This is the matchup you're going to see. Patrick Peterson on Deshaun Jackson. In this particular route, he just runs a slant route. You'd like him to get inside. Instead, he goes in behind him and is able to make the catch and run. That's all possible because of Kirk Cousins and his accuracy, putting a ball out in front and giving him the opportunity to be able to take it to the house.
So Kirk Cousins with his 9th touchdown pass of the year, and Deshaun Jackson with his 3rd TD catch. So the Redskins have to feel good about themselves here, and the score is tied 7-7. And they know how important the Redskins do in this game. 1-4 in the last place in what has been an improved, better than expected NFC East.
Brian Arakpo talked about it earlier in the week, not feeling so desperate, but they do feel a sense of urgency to get a win here today and get back on track. Kirk Cousins echoed that, saying no one's panicking at this point in the season. In large part, that's due to Jay Gruden's demeanor. He continues to stay calm, cool, and collected. He's not taking that roller coaster ride of emotions, whether it's through injuries or up and down games. They continue to try to get better each week. And as Kirk Cousins is the guy right now, quarterback, he continues to look for more consistent play.
And keep in mind, those 2 defensive penalties against the Cardinals paid off. And the Cardinals will take it out at the 20. Deshaun, the ultimate deep threat. 26 catches of 50 or more yards, most in the NFL. 20 total touchdowns of 50 or more yards, leading the league. And 6th all-time leading the NFL. His average catch, 42 yards. And caught one there to cap the 7-play, 82-yard touchdown drive. And we want to welcome the viewers to Arizona as Andre Ellington has just been tackled for a loss of 3 by Brian Orakpo. Dick, Brady, Christina, and we have Mike Pereira in our studios in LA if we need him, and we always seem to need him. And game here is tied 7-7. Just a few moments ago, Kirk Cousins hit Deshaun Jackson on a 64-yard TD strike.
The big question coming into the game was who's going to be the starting quarterback for Arizona. Carson Palmer's been the guy, and he's been efficient so far in this game.
Hadn't played since the first week. Handoff to Stephon Taylor. Taylor pulls ahead and picks up 4.
Bruce Arians talked about earlier in the week wanting to spread out the Washington Redskins defense, and then in order to run the football, he wanted to get those pass rushing ends on the field to rush upfield, which helps them create running lanes.
You mentioned the quarterback decision, and Bruce Arians said in my 20 years, first time I really had no idea on Friday who my quarterback was going to be. They had 3 possibilities. Now it's 3rd and 6 for Carson Palmer. Larry Fitzgerald in the slot to the left. Palmer has some time, and the pass thrown underneath to John Brown. Right now, let's go down to the field to Christina.
Dick, a few updates on the Redskins secondary. Brandon Merriweather was just on the field. He came off on that very first play of the game, went back to the locker room, was evaluated for a concussion, and then was cleared to play. In that time, David Amerson, their cornerback, went to the locker room. He is currently being evaluated for concussion, questionable to return.
Thank you, Christina. This is a team that's already lost D'Angelo Hall with a ruptured Achilles tendon. Andre Roberts with the fair catch. And so the Redskins, who come back to tie it up, will go on attack once more when we return to Arizona early here in the second.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Beautiful things happen when you go further. By Miller Lite, back in its original look. It's Miller time. And by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss.
And welcome back to Cactus Country, where Bruce Arians' Cardinals are locked in a 7-7 game with the Redskins, who will begin this drive from the 30. Play action pass. Cousins gets rushed, and a Cardinal got his hand on it first. It looked like Sam Acho. Redskins owner Dan Snyder sitting with the president of the Navajo Nation, Ben Shelley. And the controversy of the use of the name Redskins has been ongoing, as you all know. But I tell you, you'd like to be a fly on the wall in that booth. Second down and 10. They give it to Morris this time. Can't get away from a slew of red jerseys. Larry Foote is there. Larry Foote in his 13th year, making his 4th start. They must be doing it with mirrors.
And that's the experience we're talking about. Larry Foote's seen it all. And he's been able to rush gaps and be able to fill run holes before they even appear.
Redskins have passed more than rushed. And they've averaged 3 yards a rush, but the Cardinals have been one of the best in the league against the run. Third down and 10. And here comes the pressure on Cousins. And it's picked up in the pass caught by Jordan Reed. And Jordan Reed trying to find the first down yardage, and he may have it at the 40-yard line. And wrestling with Rashad Johnson, number 26. And he may have the first down. Let's see where they spot the ball. But good to have Jordan Reed back if you're Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, in that case, they brought an all-out blitz. Jordan Reed in the backfield releases out, and his man's got to come all the way from him disguising in the middle of the field at post safety covers. Now he's got to run all the way across the field to try to tackle Jordan Reed in space. That's why they like him so much. Once he can get outside, his athleticism and size, he can break tackles, and he can get upfield with his speed.
And they got the first down. That's what they need with the tight end. And we have a stoppage of play. And Ed Hockley going over to talk to Bruce Arians.
Arizona's challenging the ruling on the field that it was a first down.
And so Jay Gruden challenging, or I should say the Cardinals, Bruce Arians challenging that first down call. Bruce Arians challenging the call. Ed Hockley, who has looked at it.
The ball never made it to the line. It was 6 inches short of the line. We will therefore place the ball where I saw it on replay, and we will then measure to determine if it's a first down.
All right, Mike Pereira looked like he was short with it. Good challenge, obviously.
Yeah, I like it. He saw it 6 inches short, man. I'll tell you, Easy Ed is really precise. And it's where I saw it. It was 6 inches short. Yes, I do think it's short, and you can see the line to gain there. To me, it will be short, and we'll see how close to 6 inches it is. But, you know, to me, it's going to be 4th and short.
Mike, don't you think it may have been a little more than 6 inches? What do you think?
I think maybe, in my opinion, 6.5. But who might argue with Ed?
Not for us to do. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for being. I knew we'd get Mike Pereira on our telecast. It's always great to have him there. So they're going to now measure.
And Ed Hockley's always on top of it.
Right. And he indicated it was about 6 inches. He's not going to disappoint himself, is he?
No, he's not.
So that was a third down play, so that will bring up 4th and less than 1.
They're still keeping the offense out on the field. It looks like they've got something they want to try to run. They'll either try to draw them off sides.
Do you like this call, Brady?
It's a bit aggressive, especially this early in the game at a 7-7 tie. They could be just trying to draw them off sides here and may not even run a play, but they might feel enough confidence in being able to run the football.
Cousins' pass is caught, and it's going to be a first down. Niles Paul, who's the second leading receiver on this team. So it wasn't just a run, a quarterback sneak. They ran that kind of a rollout.
It could have been somewhat of a risky move. Sam Aiko was able to get right in Kirk Cousins' face, but he did a nice job of being able to get his throw up and over the top. Niles Paul just slips right underneath. No one responsible for him. Everyone up the line of scrimmage trying to stop what they thought was a run.
They needed 6 inches. They got 7 yards and a first down on the 46. Here is Alfred Morris. Morris still has not been able to break through. Picks up a couple of yards before Tyrann Mathieu, the free safety, is there.
And you've got to give the Arizona defense credit. They continue to keep putting 7 and 8 guys around the line of scrimmage to stop the run. I think they want to force Kirk Cousins to beat them downfield in the passing game.
By the way, that challenge was the first one this season by Bruce Arians. Now 1-1. There is Deshaun Jackson at the top of your picture on 2nd down and 8. Covered by Peterson, and the ball going on the screen to Jackson. Here's Jackson, and Jackson trying to get blockers, may not need any, and runs into his own man. Chris Chester, the right guard, got in his way, and Deshaun Jackson goes down. 41 yards, and he could have gotten a lot more.
And that's one way to open up Deshaun Jackson. You're going to see Niles Paul, the tight end, run out and set a block on Patrick Peterson. So all they're trying to do is get the ball in Deshaun Jackson's hands quickly, allow him to utilize his speed and cuts downfield to make the big play.
And we have a penalty marker down.
False start.
False start.
Offense, number 66.
And that'll be against Chris Chester. So Chris Chester first gets in the way of Deshaun Jackson, which could happen, and then call for the false start.
And the Redskins continue to keep getting in the way of themselves. Chris Chester just trying to get downfield. You got to give him credit. He's running downfield. He's hustling. He's just not going to be as fast as Deshaun Jackson.
And the Cardinals say thank you very much. 1st and 15. From the 15, 1st and goal. After the 42-yard play. First play in Cardinal territory today, and the pass is, see if they call it, incomplete to Niles Paul. Game break time. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Panthers and Bengals tied with 2 ticks left in overtime. Mike Nugent misses what would have been a game winner from 36 yards out. It ends. Our first tie of the season, tied at 37. Dick and Brady.
All right, well, you could say it's not a loss. So for Cincinnati, Carolina, that's their first reaction. This is the 8th play of the drive. Second and goal at the 15. Morris gets tripped up but dives inside the 10, where they own Buchanan, first-round draft pick out of Washington State up at Pullman, making the play.
The Redskins have done a nice job of being able to put their tight ends and running backs in different spots to help get a coverage indication. They're using somewhat of a checks and alert system to be able to get to the right play on 3rd down. It'll be pivotal for them to know what the coverage is, and when you put Jordan Reed on one side and all the wide receivers on the other, you get that coverage read you need, whether it's man or zone. They're doing that right here.
3rd and goal from the 10. Deshaun Jackson in the slot to the right. Here come the Cardinals on Cousins, and the pass is incomplete. Jordan Reed was the target there, and pressure that time by Mathieu. The free safety has come in almost untouched to Cousins most of this first half.
And there will be a free defender. They're bringing an all-out blitz here. They've done that twice so far in this drive. They're really trying to test Kirk Cousins and see if he can stand in there and be able to beat them in the passing game.
So a field goal attempt coming up for Kai Forbath, who is only 5 of 6, and not only just missed 1, but has only tried 6. This will be a 28-yard attempt, trying to give the Redskins the lead, and Forbath's kick is good. And the Redskins, Jay Gruden's team, once down 7-0, lead 10-7.
Today Today's game is sponsored by Pizza Hut's Bacon and Cheese Stuffed Crust.
Redskins taking the 10-7 lead. 10-play, 60-yard drive, and the big one was the 42-yard pass to Deshaun Jackson, who was tripped up by his own player, but the Redskins got points out of it. And the Cardinals will start from the 20-yard line as Antonio Cromartie fields that one. So Carson Palmer, who is 8 of 11 for only 59 yards, but he has a TD pass to Floyd. They're both coming out. First down from the 20. Breland and Biggers are the corners. So you wonder what Carson Palmer may try to do. Maybe go up top a little bit. This pass caught by Floyd, breaks a tackle, and Floyd ends up with a first down, gets up to the 35-yard line, and it was Breland, the rookie from Clemson, who could not hold on to Floyd initially, and the Cardinals get 15 yards.
Arizona's done a nice job of picking up the cross-dog blitzes on early downs that the Redskins have brought. They continue to utilize the outside soft coverage by these corners for Washington.
There you see the offensive leaders for the Cardinals, and Floyd off to a good start. First down at the 35 of Arizona. Here's Ellington. Ellington picks up 3 yards.
Talking with Bruce Arians earlier this week, one of the things he said was we like to spread them out to then run the football. Then we like to bring them all back in with multiple tight end sets and then utilize the play action pass. They want Washington to bring in those big heavy run stoppers up front so they can't rush the passer as well. They're going to mix in some runs as well when they bring in those multiple tight end sets, but they'd like to utilize some play action pass out of that to be able to protect Carson Palmer.
Remember, Perry Riley Jr. not in there, but Orakpo healthy enough to play, and this is going to be Deshaun Jackson, and he holds onto the ball after the hit, or Larry Fitzgerald, I should say, and Biggers on the hit. They both wear number 11, and a 19-yard play. So Larry Fitzgerald with his second catch of the game, and they're going to bring it back.
10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
19-yard gain nullified by penalty. And how about Larry Fitzgerald and coming into the game tied for the lead in receiving with the Cardinals, but the lowest output after 4 games of his career.
Well, he's getting older, or into the twilight years of his career, and sometimes you lose a little bit of speed, but he's continued to build and be a great route runner. He recognizes coverages well, and that's why you might see him a little bit in the slot, because the quarterback has to rely on that slot wide receiver to be able to adjust his routes to the different coverages he sees.
He split wide to the right, to the lower part of your picture on second down and 17 on this play. And here is Palmer going the other way and throwing it out of bounds. Floyd was the intended target. So now it'll be 3rd and long.
The Arizona offensive line is having some issues up front. That's 2 times in a row Carson Palmer's gotten pressure. That last rush was only 3 men. Expect Washington to possibly even now play coverage again, dropping 8 guys into coverage and continuing to just utilize a 3-man rush.
That offensive line used to be a major problem for Arizona. It's a lot better than it was. 10th play of this drive on 3rd and 17.
Delay of game offense, 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Now it'll be 3rd down and 22.
Carson Palmer got so focused on identifying the protection for Arizona, given that they've had protection issues the past couple snaps, that he lost all track of the play clock. And sometimes that'll happen, especially when you have different guys standing up and moving around and aren't in their usual places.
Statistically, Palmer has completed 9 of 13, 74 yards, and the touchdown to Floyd. His pressure on him, steps up, and the pass is going to be caught by John Brown, and that'll be a first down. So delivering on 3rd and long. Trenton Robinson making this tackle, and they'll be short. They mark it short of the first down, and they'll have to kick it.
Brian Orakpo has been putting pressure this entire series on Carson Palmer. He's got ridiculous speed off the edge.
Drew Butler kicking to Andre Roberts, and a flag is down upfield at the 30-yard line.
During the punt, holding by the receiving team, number 54. It's a 10-yard penalty. It's enforced from where the punt was caught. Washington keeps the ball, first down.
Hakeem Jordan, former Kansas City Chief. So Deshaun Jackson, who's caught a big touchdown pass, has already made big plays. He'll be coming out with the rest of the Redskins offense in a moment.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine.
Redskins starting this drive from their own 7-yard line. Alfred Morris. And Cardinals gang up on him. Deshaun Jackson has 2 catches already, 106 yards and a touchdown, Brady.
Kirk Cousins talked about it earlier this week. Sometimes playmakers just have to make plays. He wasn't able to find him earlier in the game, but the past couple series he's been able to get him the ball, and he's been explosive. He's been the one that's setting them up for their scores, not only a touchdown but the field goal, and that's what they need to continue to do throughout this game in order to get a win.
And already, Brady, his third 100-yard game of the season. Defended by Patrick Peterson. 3 straight Pro Bowls. That's a great matchup, as you pointed out. 2nd down and 8. And the pass going underneath to Pierre Garçon. First down and out of bounds for Garçon, similar to the play they ran to the other side on the first series of the game. They get 9 out of it.
And Trent Williams just had a monster block on this inside screen to Pierre Garçon. Just a different way of being able to get the ball in his hands quickly, a high efficient pass, and allowing him to be able to get downfield. When you try to cover Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson in space, it's tough for any player, for any defense. And that's what Jay Gruden's trying to get accomplished early in this game.
Redskins have been able to move the ball through the air. And here's Alfred Morris. But they have to continue to show the run. And that's important. A penalty flag is down. This is the 10th penalty of this game.
Illegal hands to the face, defense number 95. That's a 5-yard penalty that's enforced from the end of the run. An automatic first down.
Tommy Kelly, the former Patriot, who was let go by New England and picked up by the Cardinals. So that's the 3rd defensive penalty called against Arizona. And it'll be first down at the 27 for Washington. Roy Halou for a couple.
And Halou will get his snaps. He's a nice changeup from Alfred Morris. A little smaller back, better in the passing game out of the backfield and on 3rd down in pass protection for Washington. Alfred Morris is a little bigger back, likes to get more downhill with his runs, but not a bad changeup to have.
Halou in his 4th year from Nebraska. Darrell Young injured a hamstring on Friday. Might have been inactive, but he is active but hasn't played. 2nd down and 8. 2 receivers out to the right, including Deshaun Jackson. Instead, they go out to Garçon, and wrestling him down in a hurry is Patrick Peterson. So Peterson on the bigger Garçon there, and a gain of 2.
They talked about not wanting to match Peterson and Cromartie on any specific wide receiver for Washington because they got too tired from running around last week versus Denver trying to chase their man down. This way they're able to kind of stay put and conserve some energy in coverage. 3rd
down and 6. Cardinals have 5 interceptions this year, but only 1 by a defensive back. 3rd down and 6. Empty backfield, and the pass off the hands of Andre Roberts. And 4th down coming up, and Tressway will come in to punt.
Washington tried to play fast there. They didn't huddle. That was one of the things they wanted to get accomplished coming into this game. When you don't huddle, you don't sub, you don't allow the defense to sub. That limits what defensive coordinator Todd Bowles can do with his nickel and dime packages in third down with some of these exotic blitzes.
Ted Ginn Jr. came into the game second in the NFL in punt returns, over 18 a clip, backed up to the 11, turning the corner, cutting upfield, flag is down, and Ginn goes out of bounds. Penalty marker down, and usually that means an illegal hold in the back against the return team. So that was a good return that will be brought back.
During the return, illegal block in the back by the receiving team, number 30. It's a 10-yard penalty enforced from the spot of the foul. Arizona keeps the ball after enforcement. First down.
So illegal block by Stephon Taylor. And that'll set back what would have been a terrific return by Ted Ginn Jr.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
Back here in Arizona, the Redskins lead the Cardinals 10-7 after Cardinals scored the first touchdown of the game. Starting from the 15-yard line. Carson Palmer getting the start today and goes underneath, and the pass is dropped by John Carlson. Well, Kirk Cousins has been prolific in throwing, 9 of 17. Palmer has more completions but fewer yards. How do you shape up these two guys?
Well, really, both quarterbacks have played quite well. If not for a few drops for both teams, you know, that completion percentage would look even better, and they probably would have moved the ball down the field a little better.
Cousins trying to break a 6-game losing streak as a starter for the Redskins. It'll be second down and 10. Ellington, and he is hit immediately by Breland. Can't get away and limited to just 2 yards.
They brought pressure off that side. Clearly his hot throw was to Ellington. He had to get it out quick. He had a free guy coming. Unfortunately, Breland was right there to make the tackle. Merriweather comes off the edge. He's a free rusher. Palmer doing the right thing by getting it to his hot read, but Breland's right there to make the tackle.
Third down and 8. Stephon Taylor checking into the Cardinal backfield. Getting close to that 2-minute warning. And we will have the 2-minute warning. It'll be third and 8 from the 17 when we come back, and the Redskins with a 3-point lead. Want to remind you to follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. 2-minute warning. Each team has all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Third down and 8. Low snap to Palmer, and Palmer going up on top, and the pass nearly intercepted, but a flag goes down. John Brown defended downfield by Rashad Breland, and Breland nearly picked it off. This is a critical call coming up right here, Brady.
Yeah, penalties so
Pass
far have kind of been
interference defense, number 26. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul.
penalties so far have
Automatic
been the
first
Achilles heel for both teams. Carson Palmer had a one-on-one matchup with John Brown on Breland. He liked what he saw. John Brown's a 4.3 speedy guy, so he's going to be able to get open if you give him enough time. And Breland just happens to push off little John Brown right out of the way.
36-yard penalty. So now the Cardinals are on the Redskin 47 when it looked like the Redskins were going to get off the field defensively. And on first down, Palmer's pass, and a little bit too much in front of Stephon Taylor. Cardinals took the lead in the first quarter on a 20-yard touchdown pass from Palmer to Michael Floyd. Redskins tied it up on a spectacular Cousins to Deshaun Jackson 64-yard play, and then the Forbath's field goal. The difference. Ted Ginn Jr., who's been the returner, now in the game as a wide receiver to the top on 2nd and 10. But looking the other way, and this pass, another pass off of the hands of Ellington, incomplete. And that will bring up 3rd.
And he had Ted Ginn wide open. A miscommunication by the Washington defense. He went with Ellington, but had Palmer progressed to Ted Ginn, he would have saw him for a wide open and a big gain. Ted Ginn just clearing it out for Andre Ellington. In essence, that's what the play is supposed to do, but sometimes the defense forgets about covering that man altogether.
Ginn, as a receiver, has caught 3 passes this year. Brings up 3rd and 10 on the Washington 47, and now the Cardinals.
Timeout Washington. That's
and the timeout called by Washington. Redskins calling a timeout, but let's take a look at the early game headliners and quarterbacks leading the way, Brady Quinn.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, 5 TD passes in the first half. 4 of those came in the first quarter. I mean, you barely get the ball that many times in the first quarter of a game, so that's what's most impressive to me.
You can almost take the rest of the game off, right?
You'd like to think so. Hang your hat on the defense.
3rd down and 10. Redskins calling the timeout, hoping that if the Cardinals don't succeed, they have time for another offensive foray. This pass is caught by Fitzgerald, and he'll have a first down. So the money man, Larry Fitzgerald, his role may have changed, and now the up-tempo offense in progress, a gain of 11 yards.
And that was that matchup inside with Larry Fitzgerald. They'd like to work him in the slot. Carson trusts his route running ability and his hands, especially on 3rd down.
Cardinals have all 3 of their timeouts left. They're on the 36. Palmer gets time, and this pass, and it's going to be ruled, look low, but it's a catch by John Brown. That's the initial ruling, and they spot the ball inside the 25. That pass looked low to Brown. He gets 12 yards, and now the whistle.
Before the ball was snapped, we will review the ruling on the field.
And it's a booth review. Everything under 2 minutes is a booth review. And John Brown was there trying to grab it. I don't know whether it touched the ground after, didn't have control after he initially touched it.
Well, he did a nice job of getting his arms underneath the ball. A lot of times it was called a catch, so a lot of times when the refs look at that, if there's any window of doubt, it might be hard for them to overturn it because of where his hands are positioned. So he did a nice job of getting his hands underneath. It's hard to tell if the tip of the ball got, touched the ground and got underneath his hand. It looks like he secures it right there.
See the official right in front of the play. You couldn't get a better view of that.
And Larry Fitzgerald really made that play possible. After his big catch on the previous 3rd down, he ran a little under route on the inside of defense, and it drew so much attention that John Brown ended up being wide open.
So a booth review. Did the Cardinals get the 12 yards, and does the booth review back up that call? The ball would be at the 24 of the Redskins.
Plenty of time here, too, for the Arizona Cardinals. They can continue to utilize the majority of their playbook and don't have to feel too pressured by the element of time here, which you normally do in a 2-minute drive.
And, of course, the timeout factor. They have all 3 in their pocket. So here's Ed Hockley coming back onto the field.
A lot of times in a 2-minute drive, you're going to get some sort of soft zone coverage, which allows you to run the football. With 3 timeouts, you have that ability.
The ruling on the field stands as called. Completed catch. First down.
And you were right. Brady. There wasn't enough to overturn the call on the field.
And again, a nice job by John Brown. Anytime a wide receiver gets both arms underneath the football, it's pretty tough to see whether that's his arm or the ball making contact with the ground.
So a first down on the Redskin 24, with the Redskins leading by 3, under a minute to go in the first half. Palmer and Ellington downfield. The pass is incomplete and was covered by Ryan Kerrigan.
Flash back to last week, Andre Ellington caught an 80-yard touchdown pass on a similar route, had a wheel route up the sidelines. Logan Thomas was the quarterback at that time, was able to hit him. Tried to work him there in the one-on-one matchup. He's so versatile, whether running the football or getting out of the backfield. He's a tough matchup.
Logan Thomas, of course, came in, and that was his one completion. He was 1 for 8 last week, but it was a bonanza.
Not bad for your first completion in the NFL.
And now 38 seconds left, second down. And Palmer's pass is caught by Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald scores! He carried the ball and the defender into the end zone. It's a lot of work.
It is, but he's used to it. He's one of the hardest workers on this Arizona Cardinals team. And that's what makes him so special. And that's why he's been so productive over the course of his career, is the work ethic and the things he does off the field and in the offseason to prepare for the regular season.
Catanzaro for the tie, and the kick is good. So Larry Fitzgerald, his first touchdown catch of the year, 88th career TD reception.
Washington brings a blitz pressure to that side. Larry Fitzgerald does a nice job of cutting off his route on a sight adjust because they don't have enough to protect. And then he does the rest with the catch and run and just a strong, big, physical wide receiver.
85-yard drive, and it was helped by the pass interference call against the Redskins that got the Cardinals 36 yards closer. So the veteran, 8 Pro Bowls, including the last 7 years, and Carson Palmer now, 2 touchdowns and no picks.
You think there's any doubt in Bruce Arians' mind whether or not he should have started Carson Palmer? His 90% seems to be better than most people's 100%.
90% velocity at 80% yesterday, went up to 90. And so there's the scoring drive. That pass interference call aiding the Cardinals. Fitzgerald's 88th TD catch ties Don Maynard for 12th on the NFL's all-time list. Andre Robertson, the Redskins, with 2 timeouts left, will start from the 20 with 31 seconds left. And coming up, the Visa halftime report. What's on the menu? Here's Kurt Menefee.
Coming up on the Visa halftime, Aaron Rodgers leads the pack to a last-second comeback. We've got an overtime thriller in Cincinnati. The Browns make a statement against the Steelers. We'll make sure you get caught up on the busy Sunday at the half.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. See what Kirk Cousins and the Redskins offense has.
850.
Starting from the 20 with a half a minute remaining.
Hey, flip 50. Leave 36.
Helu, Roy Helu Jr. looking to get out of bounds to stop the clock. Interesting, the Redskins calling a timeout on that last drive by the Cardinals, hoping they would stop them on 3rd down and using that extra timeout offensively.
Yeah, and unfortunately it came back to bite them. They could have used it here in this situation with only 30-some seconds left on a 2-minute drive. A lot of times your first play, whether how big of a one it is or if it's a positive play, is going to give you some sort of indication of if you can make it down there to grab points in this 2-minute drive.
How delighted is Larry Fitzgerald over on that sideline, as you just saw. 2nd down and 2, and the pass is caught by Helu, and Helu off to run after the catch, still going, and has a blocker in front of him. And Helu gets as much as he can before going out of bounds. And now the Redskins, with 12 seconds remaining, possibly getting into field goal range. They're on the 39. Tommy Kelly put in pressure, and the Redskins get 33 yards on a dump off to Roy Helu Jr.
A very timely play call by Jay Gruden there, utilizing the screen pass. He had great blocking downfield And again, it all comes back to the first play of that drive. They had a positive start, and they were able to capitalize off of it, and now they're almost in field goal range.
Forbat's longest field goal this year was 49 yards. Cousins gets it out to Alfred Morris, and Morris with 7 seconds to go, and now the Redskins are indeed in field goal range. That 33-yard play setting it up. They get 15 more here.
Deion Buchanan late to get out in coverage on Alfred Morris. Kirk Cousins with the easy pitch and catch to put him in field goal range.
And they're going to try it right now, not waste any time. Kai Forbat.
And it makes sense, because this way, if
Right.
anything goes wrong, you have time to still get another kick off.
This will be a 43-yard try. Forbat connected from 28 earlier. This to bring the Redskins to within 1. And the
Timeout, Arizona.
timeout is called.
That's their first.
And Arizona calls a
30-second
timeout. Well, immediately following Game 2 of the NLCS, it's Fox Sports Live. Carissa Thompson is in Seattle for an exclusive one-on-one with the star of the NFL's biggest game of the week. Plus, we've got plenty of baseball as Gabe Kapler will have instant reaction to Game 2 of the Giants-Cardinals series, plus a look at the ALCS. Fox Sports Live is tonight after NLCS Game 2, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. How about that Arizona USC game last night when they froze the kicker and then he missed what would have been the game-winning field goal?
Had an effect on the college game. We'll see if it does at the NFL level.
All right, 43-yard try for Forbat. And Kai Forbat's kick is good. And so the Redskins, with little time on the clock, managed to come within 1 point of this game. So it's been a nip and tuck game so far. Your observation of what you've seen, the big picture overall.
Well, I think both teams would like to cut down on the penalties. You know, that's really been one of the biggest drive stoppers and actually what's allowed each team to continue their drive to get points. So if both teams can clean that up here in the second half, I think we're going to see a much more high-scoring game.
And Cousins has shown tremendous poise. We know he struggled against the Giants a couple of weeks ago with the 4 picks, but he came back, even though he lost against Seattle, and looking good today.
He really has been. He's been on point with everything and handling the pressure that Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, has been bringing throughout the game. I suspect he'll continue to bring that as the game wears on.
Cousins 11 of 19 for 208 yards and the touchdown pass. That was a 55-yard drive, 4 plays, and the field goal. And Carson Palmer, who has thrown a pair of touchdowns. Forbat to kick it. And they got 2 men back for the Cardinals. Ted Ginn Jr. from the 10 as time runs out. And running out of bounds. So a 1-point game. And it's halftime here in Arizona with the Cardinals leading the Redskins 14-13. We now go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for the Visa halftime report, which starts now. And welcome back to Arizona, where the Cardinals lead the Redskins 14-13 as we await the start of the third quarter. Today's excitement is brought to you by Nissan. First appearance since Game 1 for Carson Palmer, and a big discussion before they got underway. All right, so it's a 1-point game, and we know that the Redskins have been throwing the ball. Cardinals have been doing a little bit of both. What do you see in the second half, Brady?
Well, both teams have done a nice job of protecting their quarterback, and they're going to have to because both defenses for both teams have been pressuring a lot. But neither team's given up a sack. Neither team's turned the football over. Whoever wins that turnover battle in the second half is most likely going to come away with a win the way both these teams are playing right now. And
the timing of the turnover is always important. You know, if you turn it over in your own end,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime they're going to turn the ball over the red zone, that's going to be one of the biggest killers to your team. But unfortunately, both teams, too, are having an issue with penalties. So they've got to be able to clean that up as well here in the second half.
Redskins getting the ball first. Andre Roberts sees it sail out of the end zone. And right now, let's check in with Christina Pink.
Thank you, Dick. Kirk Cousins, a solid first half. When I asked Jay Gruden about that first half, he told me, well, we communicated well, but I want to see more from the run game. He said, we have to stick with it, got to keep calling it, and eventually we will crack a few more runs open. Also, injury note for the Redskins, cornerback David Amerson was ruled out because of being evaluated for a concussion in that first half. Also spoke to Bruce Arians, who told me that Carson Palmer looked very sharp, but defensively, they're giving up too many short passes for long games. They got to get off the field.
Very good, Christina. Thank you very much. And the handoff to Alfred Morris, and Morris breaking a tackle. Carries it out for a 4-yard gain with Okafor making the tackle. Taking a look at the halftime numbers and talking about not running the ball. Neither team has run the ball. 47 yards for the Cardinals, 45 for the Redskins.
And both coaches talked about wanting to stop the run on defense, but wanting to set the tone with the running game on offense. And clearly neither has been successful so far. Instead, they've utilized it for the play-action pass downfield.
Second down and 6. Cousins gets time and going deep downfield and overthrowing Garcon. And the coverage by Patrick Peterson. Floyd with 4 receptions, leading the Cardinals pass catchers with a touchdown. Fitzgerald has caught a TD pass as well. And Garcon with 3 receptions, the Redskins' top pass receiver.
A big third down here. I'm looking to see if they want to go back to Jordan Reed and continue to keep him involved in this game.
He caught 2 in the first half. There you see the last 4 possessions for Washington. They got that field goal to bring him to within 1.
And he's going to be the coverage indicator here for Washington on this play.
3rd and 6, looking that way, and the pass is caught by Jordan Reed. So with 3 receivers lined up to the right, they went to Reed. His 3rd catch of the game, gets 10 yards, and moving the chains are the Redskins in this first possession.
They put Jordan Reed all the way outside. They're going to figure out that he's going to be in man-to-man coverage, so they just run a little under route, allowing the wide receiver to pick for him. Everyone talks about how picks are illegal. Well, he did it in a way in which he just got in the way of the defender. He didn't actually make contact. That's how you make it legal, and that's how you get a first down.
That was Ryan Grant, the other receiver. So Jordan Reed with a hamstring pull in his 2nd year, inactive the first 4 games. And on the end around, here's Deshaun Jackson, and he goes down, avoiding any kind of collision. 5-yard pickup for Deshaun Jackson, who already has gone over 100 yards as a receiver for the 3rd time this season.
And they're going to try to do whatever they can to get the ball in his hands and allow him to run. That's where he's most special. They want to try to, whether it's a quick screen or a reverse or any sort of quick throw, they just want to get his yards after catch. So as long as they find a way to get him the ball, they know their offense is going to be able to make big plays. He's proven that throughout his career. Without
question, Brady. Jackson and Roberts to the right, and now Jackson comes into the slot left. On 2nd down and 5, here is Morris, and he'll be 1 yard short of a first down. And the play by Ed Stinson.
And it's still surprising to me that they're not matching Patrick Peterson on Deshaun Jackson. It didn't work earlier on his touchdown catch, but if you have the best cornerback in the NFL, you'd think you'd want to put him on the best receiver for the opposing team. And so far, they've just kept Cromartie on the right and Patrick Peterson on the left.
It'll be 3rd down and 1. Morris has got 39 yards rushing, averaging 3.3. And the pass caught by Roberts, and a terrific defensive play by the Cardinals. And it's Gerard Powers coming in from the secondary to prevent the first down. In fact, a loss of 2 on the play, and so that will cause the Redskins to punt.
And it was a nice play by Gerard Powers, but really, Deshaun Jackson's got to do a better job of blocking for his other wide receivers. That's why when you look at Larry Fitzgerald, he's the complete wide receiver. He blocks, he catches, he does everything right. Deshaun Jackson now, he may be explosive, but he needs to do a better job helping out his teammates.
Taking a Redskin bounce on Tress Way's punt with good hang time. 43-yard kick. So the Cardinals will come back on offense in a one-point game. Bruce Arians' club trying to go to 4-1.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. By Nissan, innovation that excites. By Corona, who invites you to find your beach. And by Burger King. For a limited time, get 10 chicken nuggets for just $1.49.
South Rim and the Grand Canyon, beautiful area out here in the Southwest. Meanwhile, first down on the 16 for the Cardinals. Their first possession of the second half, and Andre Ellington, who has averaged over 5.5 yards per carry, picks up a couple. Jason Hatcher, former Cowboy, in on the play.
Arizona's done a nice job of running the ball and getting to the outside. What they've done is they've actually made it appear as if they're going to run more up the middle and then bounce that outside once they're able to get the blocking on the edge. Washington's done a nice job of kind of clogging things up in the middle, not allowing for any big gains. Look for Arizona to continue to try to get the ball to the outside to be effective in the running game.
Cardinals with 2 touchdowns in their last 4 possessions. Michael Floyd coming to the left, and the pass caught by John Brown, and Brown may have the first down and will for the Cardinals. Getting 8 yards on the play.
And Trenton Robinson just gets sandwiched between Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd. They do a nice job of blocking downfield, allowing John Brown to be able to stretch forward and get the first down.
Interesting game coming in, and who's in front or behind the 8 ball, because the Redskins have beaten the Cardinals the last 8 times that they played them. On the other hand, the Redskins have lost their last 8 on the road. Swing it out to Andre Ellington. And good defensive play by Ryan Kerrigan. What a year Kerrigan is having, as we mentioned, tied for first in the league with 6 sacks.
And you can't say enough of what he does. I mean, he's got great technique. He's got a high motor. He's the type of guy, when you're sitting in the room preparing for the Washington Redskins, they say bring your lunch pail, because he's going to be coming the entire game. He's got a no-quit attitude, and he's so effective running downfield to make tackles when things break down up front.
These two.
Second down and 8 for the Cardinals on their 29. Palmer. And Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald with another catch into Redskin territory. Rashad Brilliant did everything he could do to defend, but a 22-yard gain and a big contest today for Larry Fitzgerald.
That's a Pro Bowl wide receiver matched up on a rookie. And he's showing him what it's all about, being in the NFL, being able to have those hand fights, but still be able to get there in time to catch the football and get 2 feet in bounds.
4 catches, 66 yards for Fitzgerald, including a touchdown. And on the Redskin 49, first down. Another pass, and unable to hold on was Ellington, bringing up 2nd and 10.
You know, Carson kind of missed that throw. It looks like I don't know if his shoulders maybe affecting him, but in that particular throw, it didn't look as fluid and didn't look as confident as he's made in the past. It's got to wonder, as this game wears on, we talked about the shoulder injury coming into the week, will he be able to sustain himself in this high level of play he started the game with?
Well, the only true healthy quarterback is Logan Thomas, the rookie. Palmer hadn't played since the first game of the year. 2nd and 10, quick pass out to John Carlson, and he is tackled immediately. Redskins doing a lot better tackling in this game than he did against Seattle. Will Compton on the play. A couple plays ago, Carson kind of makes a little bit of an inaccurate throw. You could tell he didn't like it right when it came out of his hand. And again, going back to it, he was going to Denver to see Greg Roscoff, the inventor of muscle activation technique, to try to wake up the muscles around his shoulder and allow him to play at 100%. Unfortunately, he's not quite there yet. So we'll see how it continues to wear on him throughout the game. Cardinals have spent a lot of time in Redskin territory, now looking at 3rd and 8. Penalty flag down. Cardinals pointing over that the Redskins had committed a foul. If so, it'll be 3rd down and 3.
Encroachment defense, number 97. 5-yard penalty, it's third down.
So Jason Hatcher, it'll still be third down, but now the Cardinals need 3 yards to get a first.
Much more manageable, and Carson Palmer doing a nice job of using his toolbox. One of the things you have as a quarterback is the ability to use the cadence to slow down that pass rush for the Washington Redskins.
Terrific performance for Palmer, who really didn't practice much this week.
But Bruce Arians felt confident in his ability to come right back into the game and play at a high level.
3rd and 3. Palmer's pass. And to the 24, it's a catch. And Fitzgerald wrestling with Breland for the ball. Tie goes to the runner.
You're not going to be able to pry that ball away from Larry Fitzgerald.
18 yards.
And Carson has this matchup at his disposal, most likely for the rest of the game. Putting the young rookie Breland on Larry Fitzgerald. It's going to be a long second half if they don't find a way to give that guy some help.
Well, he told us on Friday, he says, I've always been unselfish. If things don't go my way, I can accept that. And today he doesn't have to worry about being unselfish. They're going his way to a great degree. 5 catches for 84 yards. And a timeout.
Arizona, that's their first.
Called by the Cardinals, their first. It's a season's high yardage-wise, 84 yards. His best game as a receiver, 6 catches, and he's at the top here. Defended by E.J. Biggers.
Another one-on-one matchup up top with Larry Fitzgerald.
And another penalty. We've had a lot of pre-snap penalties on both sides.
Ball start offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty, it's first down.
That's Paul Faneca, who is a question mark coming into this game with a leg injury. Played with the Redskins in 2009, but a very effective right guard, and the Redskins regard him as the best offensive lineman that the Cardinals have.
And those are the type of mistakes that make it tough to score touchdowns. That's what you got to come away from when you get down into the red zone. You cannot keep putting yourself back.
1st and 15, the ball at the 29 of Washington. Palmer swings it out to Ellington. Can't get much there. Orakpo is right there. Larry Fitzgerald coming up with a big game.
And they move him all around the field. He's in the slot. He's on the outside one-on-one. They're just trying to find different ways to get him matched up and to get him the football. He's just so effective being able to use his body to make catches and stay in bounds, and he's reliable. That's the biggest thing about Larry Fitzgerald. When you talk to Carson Palmer, he knows he can trust him and rely on him.
And he says, you know, I take care of myself more as I get older. He says, I'm asleep in my bed no later than 9 o'clock. Maybe a little early. 2nd and 16 and going underneath. Pass is caught by Ellington. Ellington trying to get extra yardage. Will still be about 7 yards short of the first down thanks to Ryan Clark, who sprained an ankle on Monday and was named a new defensive captain, the former Steeler, and becoming a fixture for the Redskins defensive secondary.
And he's the quarterback of that secondary. He really gets everyone lined up and communicates the adjustments and calls. He's the guy that these young corners have to lean on for help in coverage and to not allow deep balls downfield.
Robert Hughes has checked into the game, and look at that formation.
Look at this formation up top.
That's bunch, and they do
probably
a lot of things.
Probably some sort of man-to-man coverage here, and we'll see if they can utilize John Brown.
3rd and 7, and they go to John Brown, and they do. You called it, and they did it, and they got a first down. Pretty tough to defend when you've got 3 really good receivers all, as we say, bunched together.
Well, they're going to press Larry Fitzgerald on the ball, which makes it tough for any defender to get back over top to cover John Brown. The other defenders were 10 yards off the ball. It allows an easy pitch and catch to extend the drive and get a first down.
Mike Wallace of this, when he was with the Steelers, said when he played the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, he said they did so much out of that bunch formation, everything was off of that.
You got to tip your cap to Bruce Arians because that's what he does to get guys open.
First down on the 13, a false start penalty against the Cardinals. That'll be the 9th penalty.
Offense, number 68.
9th penalty called against Arizona. Jared Valdir, the left tackle.
And this is you have when you have multiple quarterbacks playing throughout the season. There's different cadences. They have different rhythms in their cadence. So the O-line, more than anyone else, has to be able to adjust with them and has to now get back used to Carson Palmer, who started week 1 but hasn't been in since.
And he didn't take many snaps this week. So how do you do it?
Well, it's tough. Again, it just takes reps and reps and reps. You got to be able to hold your water and hang in there.
1st and 15 from the 18. Short drop again. And Palmer throws it away. Smart quarterbacks will do that instead of getting the sack or throwing the interception. And Chris Baker, number 92, putting the pressure on Carson Palmer.
Good coverage downfield by Washington. Playing a lot of zone coverage on early downs. That was something Brian Arakpo actually talked to us about, was we need to play some zone coverage to help out those young corners on the outside. On 3rd down, if we bring pressure, we may have to go man-to-man, and they have to be able to hold their own, and we have to get to the quarterback. But right there, a good job by not allowing anyone to get behind them into the end zone.
Cardinals have had problems in the red zone this year. 2nd and 15. Here's Ellington. And the helmet gets loose. Keenan Robinson making the tackle. The helmet belonged to Jarvis Jenkins after a gain of 3.
Yeah, out of the shotgun, the Arizona Cardinals run a lot of draws. They really feel like they can find more running lanes that way by giving the deception of the pass, but being able to hand it off and allowing those pass rushes to get upfield. They really feel like they can get downfield easier with their running backs in the running game.
This is not a running play, but the Cardinals have averaged nearly 5 yards.
Another bunch.
A rush, yep, on the right side this time. 3rd and 12. Palmer off balance. Flag is down and throws it out of the end zone. But a penalty is Ryan Clark making it difficult for the 12-year-old veteran, Palmer.
Holding, offense, number 68. The penalty is declined. Brings up 4th down.
So Beldier holding, 2nd penalty for Beldier in this series.
And he's got a tough task. He's on Brian Arakpo. He's got a ton of speed and power, and he does a nice job of getting low and be able to get around Beldier. And the pressure on Palmer didn't allow him to possibly see a window to throw the ball to Larry Fitzgerald. That's how you play complementary football. The defensive line and the secondary being able to play together as one to get stops.
Chandler Catanzaro, who has not missed this year, 11 for 11. This will be a 33-yard try. Try to extend the Cardinal lead, and the rookie from Clemson makes good. And the Cardinals, with 4:13 remaining in the 3rd quarter, now lead it 17-13.
Today's game is sponsored by Visa Checkout, the easier way to pay online.
Annual screening saves lives. Help finish the fight against breast cancer by visiting NFL.com/pink to celebrate the NFL in American Cancer Society's first ever A Crucial Catch Day on October the 25th. And many of the pink items visible on the field of play that we have seen today will be up for auction at NFL.com/auction. Larry Fitzgerald, what a game. 4-point lead by Arizona. The total yardage, 1 separates the teams. First downs, Arizona has 3 more. There have been no turnovers. As you see, the offensive leaders for the Redskins, first down from the 20. Alfred Morris, and again, unable to get anything. The longest run he's had is 9 yards. Sam Acho making the play that time. Acho, who missed the final 13 games of last year with a broken leg.
The Arizona defense has done a nice job of not allowing the Washington running backs to get outside. That's called setting the edge. He's able to utilize his other teammates back inside to help make tackles.
Garcon and Deshaun Jackson to the top. Jackson in the slot to the right on 2nd down and 8. Cousins going the other way, and the pass is caught. Trying to get away is Jordan Reed, and does for a couple of yards. They're still going to be short, the Redskins are, by about 3.5 yards, 4 yards.
And that's the thing about Jordan Reed. When you get him the ball out in space, he's so big and physical, he's going to get you a few extra yards after the catch. Antonio Cromartie probably weighs about 40 pounds less than him. Just tough to cover.
Now the crowd is vocal on 3rd and 4. Cousins pass, and it's knocked down. They wanted to go to Reed again, but well covered that time by several Cardinals, including Tyrann Mathieu, and that will bring up 4th down.
In the first half, defensive coordinator Todd Bowles wanted to give the impression of pressure. He was pressuring a bunch in the first half. Now he's putting everyone up around the line of scrimmage, but dropping guys out into coverage. In that time, they kind of fooled Kirk Cousins.
Young quarterback, and they move around a lot. Sometimes safeties become linebackers. And here is Tress Way with the punt. Ted Ginn Jr. will let the ball bounce, and it goes the Redskins bounce. It picked up by Ginn, and Ginn runs out of bounds. Not bad field position at about the 33. 53-yard kick. We'll be back. Carson Palmer back on stage. There's the rookie Logan Thomas from Virginia Tech. Came into the 3rd quarter last week against Denver. Drew Stanton had the concussion. And so the only healthy quarterback, and he took most of the snaps this week. 1st down. Carson Palmer with plenty of time, and he completes the pass to Rob Hausler. And that'll be a 1st down. Well, anyway, we're coming into the stadium today and making the turn toward the television trucks, and who do we see on a cell phone outside is Logan Thomas. I offered him a ticket. He said no, but we gave him a ride.
He unfortunately couldn't get in. You only get 1 parking pass as a player, so he had given it up to someone else, a friend or family member, and he unfortunately couldn't get actually into the stadium, so he had to take a little ride with us.
And it's nice that you pushed over and made some room for him. 1st down. Ellington with a couple. Previous play was 15 yards. Ellington maybe shaken up a bit. Game break time. Kurt Menefee in L.A.
Raider rookie quarterback Derek Carr had 4 touchdown passes coming into the game. He's got that many today against San Diego. 2 to Andre Holmes. And the Raiders lead at 28-21 over the Chargers. Dick Stockton, Brady Quinn, Carson Palmer's old team looking for their 1st win.
Yes, and Tony Sperano in his 1st game as head coach of the Raiders. Ellington charges up the middle, and Ellington gets upended just before he gets the 1st down yardage by Ryan Clark, but gets 9 yards. So a 9-yard run.
And this is all possible because Washington has now started playing more cover 2 defense, allowing them not to put an extra guy in the box. They're trying to help out those corners on the outside. So now the Arizona Cardinals have better numbers on the inside for their blocking scheme.
Cover 2, how would you explain that?
2 deep guys protecting the entire deep part of the field, and the rest are playing zone coverage underneath. But again, you have the right numbers at the line of scrimmage to be able to block everyone.
3rd down and 2. Been a long drive for the Cardinals. 3rd and 2, and Carson Palmer has it knocked away, trying to get away, and he does, and he makes the pass to Robert Hughes, who gets the 1st down. That's what a veteran can do, and Carson Palmer with Jason Hatcher in his face, and one of the Redskins is shaken up, and it's Jarvis Jenkins, but great awareness by Carson Palmer there, partner.
Just a tough, gritty play by Carson Palmer. Being able to find his back in the midst of all this chaos. Unbelievable. And you can't think that if Drew Stanton or Logan Thomas is in the game that they're going to make that play. That's what Carson Palmer brings to this Arizona offense.
Absolutely. And Palmer loses his helmet in the process. A gain of 7 and a 1st down to the 40. Those are Palmer's numbers today. He hasn't made a mistake.
They'll probably let this ride out to the end of the quarter. I think Carson Palmer probably wouldn't mind taking a little break after all those hits he just took in the last play.
So here's a guy who hardly practiced, took a lot of flights to Denver for treatment on the nerve problem in his neck, and here he is starting, getting his eyes worked on. And that'll do it. That's the end of the 3rd quarter with the score. The Cardinals 17, Redskins 13. America's Game of the Week will return after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. And we begin the 4th quarter. Dick Stockton, Brady Quinn, Christina Pink. Cardinals leading 17-13. They have a 1st down on the Redskin 40-yard line. Here's Andre Ellington trying to go wide and is going to lose yardage, lose 5. Brandon Merriweather with good penetration.
Let's go back and look at the hit Carson Palmer took on the 2 plays ago. Watch Chris Baker get his hand up in his face mask and then pull his helmet off. Don't forget, Chris Baker is the player who took a cheap shot on Nick Foles after an interception playing Philadelphia a few weeks ago. Starting to see a pattern here. I think he's going to find a nice little FedEx envelope waiting for him when he gets back to his locker later on next week.
What might be in that one?
It's going to be a big fine from Roger Goodell.
2nd and 15. Palmer with the out to Fitzgerald. And Fitzgerald tackled short of the first down. Gain of 14. Breland on the coverage. So the Cardinals are threatening again here, early here. Less than a minute gone by in the 4th. They're on the 31 of the Redskins.
Unfortunately for the Washington Redskins, that matchup is going to hit a lot throughout the rest of this game. They just can't do enough to help out Breland and Biggers on the corners on the outside. It's a big-time mismatch for the Arizona Cardinals, and they're going to take advantage of it for the rest of this game.
And those 6 catches by Fitzgerald ties his season's high. And there is the pass out to Hausler, but he is wrestled down by Ryan Kerrigan. No gain on this play.
Ryan Kerrigan playing disciplined defense and staying at home. He's not buying in this misdirection running play. He's going to stay at home, hang with the tight end, which is his man in man-to-man coverage, and play good leverage and make the tackle for the stop.
So it'll be 4th down and 1, and the Cardinals will try to get 3. And there is Kerrigan. And this will be a 49-yard field goal attempt. Chandler, Catanzaro. And we'll have an interruption of play.
Timeout, Arizona. That's their 2nd.
And the Cardinals.
I think they want to maybe talk over this play and see what they want to do.
Well, they're left with 1 timeout left here in the 2nd half.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads. By Domino's. Oh, yes, we did. And by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
Well, Brady, Bruce Arians used his 2nd timeout here, and the question is whether they're going to go for it on 4th and 1. They're going to go for the field goal.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would have used that timeout to then decide what play they wanted to do to go for it. But instead, we're going to kick a field goal. They got 1 timeout left in this game, and it's still only a 1-score game then for Washington.
And a 49-yard try by Catanzaro, and the kick is good. So Catanzaro 2 for 2, a 33-yarder and a 49. And the Cardinals lead by a touchdown, 20-13. Chandler Catanzaro, who just kicked a 49-yard field goal. 8 plays, 39 yards. And the Cardinals leading 20-13. Andre Roberts played 4 years here, and they'll start out on the 20-yard line. Well, tonight, Game 2 of the National League Championship Series. The Giants look to take a 2-0 lead, while the Cardinals look to even things up. Coverage begins after football, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Jake Peavy and Lance Lynn are the probable starters, and the Giants try to make it 2 in a row in St. Louis. First down on the 20 for the Redskins. Both teams relying on the pass today. And there's Cousins' pass, and it's caught. And it's picked up on the turnover by Matthew. And Matthew returning it, still on his feet. And down. And the first turnover of the game, and a costly one by the Redskins, starting that drive, Andre Roberts.
Dick, his knee might have been down on that. It's hard to tell. We'll see if the ball starts to come out before his knee touches the ground.
It does. Let's see. I'm not sure now. I think his left knee was down.
It looked as if his left knee was on the ground before the ball came out. And that's a big momentum swing. You're talking about a turnover, putting Arizona in scoring position again to a first down.
On the field.
They review all turnovers. And they're reviewing whether that was a turnover by the Redskins.
Today's game is sponsored by the new Samsung Galaxy S5. The next big thing is here.
Mike Pereira is with us. Ed Hockley ready to give his determination.
The ruling on the field stands as called. It is not clear when the ball starts to come loose compared to when the knee hits the ground. Arizona's ball, first down.
Mike Pereira, did it look to you as if the knee had touched first before the ball came out?
I think, Dick, to tell you the truth, it looked so close to me that I couldn't really tell either. You know, it's almost simultaneous, and if it's simultaneous, I agree with Ed. I think you leave it as called, and maybe not as verbose as he was in describing the whole thing. But again now, you know, is the knee on the ground when the ball gets pried away? He says the rule in the field stands, means whatever they called would have stayed, and I like that when they let the close one stands like that.
Gerard Powers was the one who jarred the ball loose, so the first turnover of the game. And the Cardinals, still early in this fourth quarter, leading by a touchdown.
12:40. Thank you. 12:40.
Dick, when you have that kind of momentum change in a game, usually you look to the offense and then take a shot. We'll see if Arizona wants to do that with some sort of play action pass, but this seems to be more of a running formation here.
Jerron Brown, number 13, is in the game as a wide receiver for the first time in the game. And the running play to Andre Ellington. And Ellington is knocked back for a 1-yard loss to Will Compton, who started today for Perry Riley Jr. Meanwhile, this could be a really tough loss for the Redskins. Ryan Kerrigan going into the locker room, as we mentioned, already lost Perry Riley Jr., unable to play today.
A huge loss to the defensive line unit. They're really the heart and soul of this Washington Redskins defense, being able to get pressure on the quarterback and help out the back end in coverage.
Trent Murphy, number 93, a native of Phoenix, replaces him. It'll be 2nd down and 10 at the 27. Palmer giving ground, and Palmer gets it into the hands of Ellington. And Ellington trying to reach over for the first down, may have done it. Keenan Robinson making the tackle, and a gain of 10. Let's check in with Christina down on the field.
Dick, as you mentioned, Ryan Kerrigan, heart and soul of this Redskins defense. He is back in the locker room being evaluated for a possible concussion. His return is questionable.
All right, they've already lost David Amerson for the same reason, one of the starting cornerbacks. And by the way, Trent Murphy putting good pressure on, just coming into the game for Kerrigan on that last play. And they will measure to see whether Ellington has that first down for the Cardinals. And it is a first down. 10-yard pickup. Jay Gruden's Redskins down by a touchdown, and still plenty of time remaining. But that turnover could really prove damaging, Brady.
And anytime you have a turnover in a game, it's going to play a huge factor in the momentum swing and what the team's able to do with it. This is going to allow Arizona easy points here to make it a 2-score game. Going back to that 4th and 1 they decided to kick, now it looks smart. They relied on their defense. Their defense came through, being able to get a turnover. And the offense here is at least going to get a field goal try, if not a touchdown on this drive.
Ball on the 17. And first down. Palmer with the short drop. Pumps and almost intercepted. In fact, it was in and out of the hands of Brian Orakpo. And no one around him. It was thrown really right to him.
We talked about the big playmaking ability on offense for the Redskins, that they need to make plays in order to make it happen. This is what you need to do on defense. You've got to make that play to, again, change momentum and give your team a boost. It was obvious there. Carson Palmer didn't see Brian Orakpo there, just hanging out in zone coverage. Fortunately, got away with one there.
2nd down and 10. Talked about turnovers and where they come, as much as when they come. And there is the pass out to the left side, and John Carlson immediately tackled by Keenan Robinson. So the 3rd down coming up. Loss of 2 on that play.
I would think if you're Arizona here, being that the first down marker is between the 10 and the 5-yard line, to just go ahead and take a shot to the end zone.
Cardinals are the only team that have not thrown an interception this year in the league.
And maybe he played safe and just hand the ball off on a draw or something, but...
Third down on 12, and Ted Ginn Jr. incomplete. So another field goal try is coming on. So Catanzaro, who connected on a 49-yarder the last time the Cardinals had the ball, and now Arizona trying to get 3 off of that turnover by the Redskins.
Yeah, they tried to set up a fake screen to either Michael Floyd or Larry Fitzgerald up the seams, and unfortunately the Washington Redskins played it out well. Now they're forced to kick a field goal and make it a 2-score game.
37-yard try to make it a 10-point game, and the Cardinals do. So Catanzaro now 14 for 14 on the year, and the Cardinals lead by 10. Redskins so far have been shut out for 3 of the 4 quarters, and the Cardinals have scored in every quarter. So Andre Roberts coming back to the desert, and it's been an inauspicious return for Roberts coming back. He's had his problems. Redskins take over, down by 10. Still a lot of time left when we get back. Redskins trailing the Cardinals by 10. First down on the 20. Kirk Cousins. Pass is caught by Deshaun Jackson. Well, Week 6 continues with Sunday Night Football tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. And tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN. 9 yards to Deshaun Jackson, who has caught 3 passes, but how about 115 yards, including a 64-yard touchdown catch. Second and 1. Cousins will go down inside the 20 thanks to Alex Okafor. Cardinals have not had a lot of sacks this year, and they haven't had a lot of hurries with this makeshift defense, but they had it there in the second sack and a loss on the play.
And they brought the weak side linebacker and the weak safety, and the Washington Redskins protection just couldn't hold up. Kirk Cousins looking the other way, didn't see it before it was too late. Now they're in a third and long situation, and you can expect the Cardinals to bring some sort of pressure and keep the heat on Kirk Cousins.
Loss of 9. He's got time and goes deep end. Flag is down. Looked like he stopped his route, did Deshaun Jackson, and he is shaken up.
That ball looked like it was thrown so far downfield it might have been uncatchable. I know it landed in the field of play, but that was way out there.
Well, maybe Jackson.
Number 31. The ball was placed at the spot of the foul.
Stopped his route because he was interfered with by Antonio Cromartie, the former Jet. So 16-yard penalty, and Jackson still down.
And they ran a little out and up route there. Defensive backs are taught to sit at the sticks when it's third down. Cromartie sat at the sticks, and then when Deshaun Jackson went to turn upfield, he just grabbed him for the pass interference.
Ball now at the 36. And the pass caught by Andre Roberts, and Roberts with a first down, best play he's made all day, and gaining 17 yards. Decided to sign with the Redskins in hopes that he would be the second receiver after Garcon, and then they went out and they signed Deshaun Jackson. So he's still third, but he's in a new home, and he delivered there.
And again, on early downs, they really like the matchup of Roberts versus Powers in the slot. He just fumbled a series ago, but they're still going to keep coming back to him. They really like that matchup.
And Jackson is back into the bottom of your picture. First and 10 at the 47 of Arizona. Pump fake right, pass left, and it's picked off. Thrown right into the hands of Rashad Johnson. And Johnson out of bounds in Redskin territory. Another flag down.
And you're going to do attacking on another 15 yards on this return. Deshaun Jackson there with a late tackle out of bounds, really unnecessary. He was able to push Johnson out of bounds, and that's the sort of thing that loses games for you. Turnovers and unnecessary penalties.
Second turnover by the Redskins.
This is what happens when you continue to bring pressure on a quarterback. He doesn't feel like he can sit comfortably in the pocket and make confident throws. His internal time clock goes off, and he rushes and makes bad decisions. And there's Deshaun Jackson pulling him down, completely unnecessary. They were almost on the tarp. They were so far out of bounds.
So there was a fumble and then an interception. And only the second interception of the year by a Cardinal defensive back. So the ball now at the 46 of Washington. Apparently they picked up the flag because they didn't mark off any more yards after that. Here is Ellington off the right side, and he picks up about 3.
I don't know how you could pick up that flag. It was clearly a personal foul. It wasn't even close. And again, that's the frustration that's going to play out on a team that's 1-4, possibly 1-5 after this game. Players get tired of losing. They get tired of being in the position of putting all the extra work in and time in and not coming up with anything at the end of the week.
Takes 2 over there.
Cardinals have played a clean game to this point. Just under 8 minutes to go in the fourth. 2nd and 8. Leading by 10, looking for more. And here's Andre Ellington this time. Ellington close to the first down and maybe just shy of it by a half a yard. And now the Cardinals are content in running the clock, keeping the ball on the ground.
This is where the offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals has to take over. Washington knows they want to run the football in order to control the clock. So they've got to make sure that they try to find ways of filling gaps, because Arizona's going to continue to keep pushing the ball right down their throats until they can find a way of stopping it.
Ryan Kerrigan has been cleared back in the game. Ellington with 57 yards on the ground. And the rush should be a first down by Stephon Taylor. And it will be a first down for the Cardinals.
When you look at the NFC West playoff picture, or where they're standing at least right now, I really feel like the Arizona Cardinals are built to compete with the Seattle Seahawks. They've got similar styles on defense. When you look at their offense, they're able to run the ball very efficiently and still make big plays in the passing game.
But they would need a stable quarterback. They would need a guy who's going to hang in there, as Carson Palmer did last year on a 10-6 year. But they've had injuries, and that has affected them. Play action this time for Carson Palmer. Has plenty of time. He's going deep for Floyd in the end zone and unable to get it to him. Coverage by Ryan Clark.
Well, they're going to need to continue to keep him healthy, and they're going to also need to continue to protect the football as they have today. And with Carson Palmer in there, they do a better job of that. Controlling the clock, taking care of the football, making good decisions. Whether he's in the pocket or he gets outside, that's why they're so big on Carson Palmer and giving him the opportunity to play today, even though he's not 100%.
They kind of felt they wanted Palmer to be the guy today.
They really did. I mean, heck, the owner flew him on his private jet to Denver just to get treatment.
2nd and 10. And here's the pass, and it is dropped. Jerron Brown had it, and let's see whether E.J. Biggers knocked the ball out of Brown's hands or whether it was just dropped. So going for the touchdown try that time.
Biggers one-on-one on the outside. He's going to be able to get back into phase close to the wide receiver and get a hand in. A great play by E.J. Biggers to keep Washington within striking distance and still give them a chance in this game.
3rd and 10 from the 35. Field goal try would be over 50 yards if they don't gain anything here. Palmer fires it up in the air and incomplete, and John Brown was looking up in the sky, but no football.
Clearly a miscommunication between Carson Palmer and John Brown. The Washington Redskins had an all-out blitz. They're bringing everyone, and they're just man-to-man across the board in the secondary, and Palmer thought he was going to stay vertical on his route, and instead he broke it off into an out route.
So Drew Butler is on, and in a punting situation, and
that's the sort of thing that you get used to throughout the week. And when you're not practicing, those sorts of miscommunications can happen from time to time.
Fortunately for the Cardinals, they have not turned the ball over under these circumstances. And the ball bounces, will be down by the Cardinals at around the 10-yard line. With just under 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Arizona by 10. We'll be back in a moment. You know, that was an important stop by the Redskins, Brady.
It has been so far. The Arizona Cardinals have gotten 2 turnovers from Washington, but have only gotten 3 points out of it. And with the Washington Redskins offense and Deshaun Jackson, they can make up this 2-score lead in a hurry.
They got a bunch formation to the left. First down on the 11. And finally, a penalty flag.
And again, these are the type of penalties that have been continuing to plague the Washington Redskins throughout the season.
Dead ball penalties on both sides.
Neutral zone infraction defense, number 50. 5-yard penalty, that's first down.
So it'll be first down and 5. Okafor, number 57. And the Cardinals, they have been penalized almost twice as much as the Redskins today. Redskins, 6 penalties, but 11 for the Arizona Cardinals, including several on defense that enabled the Redskins to get some points. First down and 5. From the 16. Kirk Cousins drills it. Incomplete to Deshaun Jackson.
It looked like Patrick Peterson got there just a little bit early. There's going to be tight coverage whenever Patrick Peterson's involved.
Flag.
Pass interference defense.
You're right.
Number 21. The ball is placed at the spot of the
As a
foul.
quarterback, you probably see that even before it happened.
You know, we talked to Kirk Cousins earlier this week, and he said he respects Patrick Peterson, but he's not going to be afraid to go against him, especially if Deshaun Jackson's on him. So right there, he takes an opportunity, and with the tight coverage, ends up being a pass interference. First down.
And a 12-yard penalty. So after the 5-yard neutral zone infraction, now a first down up to the 28. Just under 6 minutes to go in regulation. Good protection this time, and the pass is caught by Jordan Reed. And Reed down short of the first down. Reed is coming back to the team after being inactive for 4 games.
The Washington Redskins going with an up-tempo offense here. They obviously need to try to get into a rhythm and get moving downfield in a hurry, being that it's a 2-score game.
Second and 1. Cousins pass. And what a catch made by Reed in traffic. Jordan Reed with his 6th catch of the game. And a first down into Cardinal territory.
Back-to-back catches for Jordan Reed. And this fast-paced offense has calmed down some of these exotic blitz looks that the Arizona Cardinals are trying to bring. The Redskins are moving fast and not allowing them to get lined up.
6 catches, 55 yards for Reed, returning to action. And it's paid off for the Redskins. We're still down by 10. And pass thrown underneath to Roy Helu Jr. And he'll get some yardage. Up to the 42-yard line. Larry Foote with the tackle. He got 7 that time. And the hurry-up continues.
And with the hurry-up, you're going to get a softer zone coverage because they don't want to get beat deep. And what that allows for is the running back to be able to make a 7, 8, 9-yard gain with a simple completion right in front of the quarterback.
Jackson at the top. Defended by Peterson. Second down and 3. Here they come. Big pressure. And the pass off the hands of Andre Roberts. And the coverage that time by Gerard Powers. So third down and 3. 4:13 on the clock in the 4th.
The Arizona Cardinals have everyone up around the line of scrimmage, and they're going to bring the house. Kirk Cousins does a nice job seeing it and having to get rid of it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to set his feet and deliver an accurate ball to be able to get them a first down and affect them and get the Arizona Cardinals out of these blitzing situations.
Redskins are 2 for 9, 22% on third downs. Cousins. And the pass is picked off. Interception by Gerard Powers. And the Cardinals with 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery get the ball back. 3 turnovers committed by Washington, and we'll be back. Brady Quinn, let's watch Cousins on this interception.
When the Arizona Cardinals keep putting everyone up around the line of scrimmage and blitzing, that time they dropped out, and Powers is able to capitalize off with the interception. Cousins just never able to set his feet, never able to feel comfortable. He's got to get his shoulders, his feet over to that throw to try to deliver a more accurate ball. We can't say enough about defensive coordinator Todd Bowles and the job he's done today, mixing it up and never allowing Kirk Cousins to feel comfortable in the pocket.
Andre Ellington with the run, and they used the clock. We have 4:01 to go. Brian Arakpo making the tackle, and a timeout called by the Redskins. Gerard Powers, who has forced a fumble and made an interception. 3 turnovers committed by the Redskins here in the 4th quarter. 4:01 to go. 2 timeouts left for the Redskins. Larry Fitzgerald has had a terrific game in motion, and Ellington, a couple of more yards on the play. Good block by Fitzgerald there for the short gain. And now the Redskins will call the timeout, leaving them with 1. 1 timeout left for the Redskins, who trail by 10. Redskins at one time led 10-7 after trailing 7-0 early in the game. Just under 4 minutes ago. Bobbling the ball is Palmer, very cool with it. Picks it up and goes down with it. Didn't just jump on it, but maybe try to get something out of it.
Yeah, not the worst result for an awkward snap like that, especially when you take a sack, because you keep the clock running and you actually force Washington to call their last and final timeout.
That's the first sack of the game by the Redskins. Brian Kerrigan, who had been shaken up, and Jason Hatcher. And there you see Carson Palmer and Jay Gruden's team trying to hang on there and trying to avoid another loss. They have been in a losing streak for a while, and the Cardinals, who came into the game tied for first in the NFC West, trying to make it 4 out of 5 with all those injuries. And now quarterback problem injuries today as well. Andre Roberts is back deep. And Drew Butler. And Roberts is ridden out of bounds, and a penalty flag. Justin Bethel. This is the 19th penalty today.
Well, the discussion here is whether or not he waived for a fair catch or not.
Fair catch interference by the kicking team, number 28. The receiver signaled for a fair catch, and he was then tackled. It's a 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul.
Let's see this.
First down.
It looks pretty clear.
Yeah.
Bethel's just got to do a better job of keeping his eyes on the return man, being able to see that. Now it allows the Washington Redskins to have an opportunity here, be in good field position. Again, it's a 2-score game with 3:43 left. The Redskins defense has done a nice job of not allowing Cardinals to capitalize off the turnovers.
And get touchdowns. A couple of field goals earlier on the turnovers. Here's Cousins into the hands of Andre Roberts. Roberts with a first down, and Roberts will step out of bounds into Cardinal territory. Gain of 22, and it stops the clock with 3:36.
The Redskins need to get into a rhythm fast here. Down 10 points. It doesn't matter how you go about getting the 10 points to get back into this ball game, whether you get a field goal here or a touchdown. They just need to find a way to get on the board and find some momentum off of this.
And what is a negative for the Redskins here in their bid is the fact that they are out of timeouts. First down on the 42 of Arizona. Kirk Cousins up the middle, and the pass caught by Reed. Jordan Reed with his catch there, his 7th of the game, gets 20 more yards. And we're under 3.5 minutes. Still no timeouts left. The ball at the 22 of the Cardinals.
Arizona playing a 2-deep look with man coverage underneath. Jordan Reed wins his one-on-one battle. Kirk Cousins finds him. Nice job by the Washington Redskins offensive line to allow him to buy time. Enough to get it to Jordan Reed for the big first down.
Cousins pass, and it's caught again by Reed. And Reed getting the first down and gets to the 5. He did not go out of bounds, and Rashad Johnson in a battle lost that one with Reed, who gets 17 yards and a lot of grass on his helmet.
Johnson was matched up outside one-on-one with Jordan Reed, and they brought the house again. They continue to keep bringing these pressures on Kirk Cousins, and they're going to do it until he beats him. Right there, Kirk Cousins does a nice job of execution. Now let's see if Bowles continues to want to bring the pressure up. They play more of a soft zone coverage.
First and goal from the 5. Cousins with the slant, touchdown to Pierre Garçon. And they did that in a hurry, Brady Quinn, and the Redskins can be in a position to be 3 points down. No timeouts left with 2:17, and they'll also have the stoppage at the 2-minute warning.
And it all goes back to the Washington Redskins defense allowing this opportunity. Pierre Garçon's going to have a quick little slant route underneath. Patrick Peterson unfortunately can't get through the inside wide receiver to make a play on the ball. Easy pitch and catch for the touchdown. And they're about to be within 3 points.
Garçon, that's Reed, by the way, who's had a tremendous game today with 8 catches for 92 yards. And Garçon with his second TD grab of the year. The extra point is good by Forbath. And now it's a 3-point game. Things getting very close for these Arizona Cardinals. 23-20, they lead.
And with 2:17 left and no timeouts, you would think that you'd want to possibly kick here and try to. You're gonna have one timeout with a 2-minute warning, but besides that, that's it. They may have to do a onside kick, find somewhere to get in the ball again.
We like to welcome our new viewers, Jay Gruden and the Redskins. Trying to make a rally here. They have no timeouts left. They have just scored a touchdown on a 64-yard drive and trailed by 3, 23-20. Redskins have turned the ball over 3 times in the 4th quarter, yet still in the game. No timeouts will hurt them. And Ted Ginn Jr. is back deep. And all of the players with good hands are up at the line for the Cardinals. We'll bring you up to date on the way this game has progressed. And here is the onside kick. Didn't go 10 yards. And it's covered up by Sam Acho. And the Cardinals will get the ball in Redskin territory with 2:16 to go. Carson Palmer getting the call. And he had treatment on the nerve problem in his shoulder. First start since opening day with 2 touchdowns. Cousins with 2 picks along with 2 touchdowns has had a big aerial game himself. But the 3 turnovers in the 4th quarter by the Cardinals, and Larry Fitzgerald with a season best game. And Brady Quinn, this Cardinal team continues to battle despite these injuries and perhaps pick up wins.
Well, the biggest key is they're always winning the turnover margin. And that's going to help any team as they continue on throughout the season in the NFL in winning football games.
From the 42 of Washington, Andre Ellington with a burst, and the Redskins can't stop the clock, although the 2-minute warning will. Ellington today has gained 65 yards. And our 2-minute warning here in Arizona. Can Carson Palmer pull off another win as he did in the opening game against San Diego? We'll be back. Immediately following Game 2 of the NLCS, it's Fox Sports Live. Carissa Thompson is in Seattle for an exclusive one-on-one with Tony Romo of the NFL's biggest game of the week. Plus, we've got plenty of baseball as well. And Andre Ellington with the rush. Redskins can't stop the clock. And the Cardinals, amazingly, continue to be the only team in the league not to throw an interception this year.
Yeah, and with this win today and Seattle's loss, it's going to put Arizona at #1 by themselves of the NFC West. Something that many people wouldn't believe based on playing 3 quarterbacks in your first 4 games and how the season's kind of gone for the Cardinals.
Including those defensive injuries. And Calais Campbell going out, the latest last week. And Carson Palmer only playing in 2 of the first 5 games. Here is Palmer, and he'll go down on 3rd down and 2. Here's what Palmer has done today.
Well, he's been very efficient in the passing game. Question marks all week of who the quarterback would be. Bruce Arians said he didn't know in 20 years on a Friday. He's never had to be within doubt of who the quarterback would be, but he had to in this case. And Carson Palmer's continued to push the ball down the field, making big passes, and timely ones when they needed it. If there's any questions about that shoulder, I think he's answered all of them today.
Meanwhile, with all the heroics of Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald and company, the defense still has to do some work. Drew Butler will be kicking. Andre Roberts, the former Cardinal, is back at the 10, and they're going to have a delay of game penalty here with 34 seconds left.
And they're going to try to soak up all they can on the play clock there. And
delay of game offense, 5-yard penalty.
Just going to give the punter a little bit more room.
And right now, let's go to Los Angeles. Kurt Menefee with a game break. Kurt.
Well, Dick, you mentioned earlier as we continue with Foxtoberfest, Buster Posey and the San Francisco Giants try to go up 2 games to none over Yadier Molina and the St. Louis Cardinals. It's game 2 of the National League Championship Series from St. Louis over on Fox Sports 1 following football. Dick and Brady.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. And here is the kick by Butler. Fair catch called for by Roberts at the 14. And so what the Redskins have to do with 29 seconds left, simple, just get in field goal range to try to extend this game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kirk Cousins can probably throw the ball further than they kick a field goal. So if this drive plays out the way I think it might, they might end up having to throw one into the end zone instead of being able to kick one. Which, going back to Kirk Cousins' college days, he has had some experience at Michigan State when they upset Russell Wilson when he was at Wisconsin with a Hail Mary pass. So he's been able to do it before. Let's see if he can now.
And just keep in mind that Kai Forbath, the place kicker for the Redskins, his career long is 50 yards. Redskins will start from the 14. No timeouts remaining. Cousins pass, and it's intercepted by Rashad Johnson. And Johnson dives in. Touchdown! And that's that. Four turnovers in the 4th quarter, and this was a 28-yard return by Johnson for the touchdown to ice this game for the Cardinals.
It's the Cardinals that sit alone atop the NFC West.
Amazing.
We'll see if they can continue to be the leader throughout the rest of this NFL season.
And how about the Dallas Cowboys beating the Seahawks 30-23. 49ers will be playing the Rams, and they're going to, of course, as they do, review all turnovers and scores. Was he in for the touchdown to Johnson and put that ball over his right hip, and it was a touchdown, and the extra point by Catanzaro was good. He has kicked 3 field goals today, and it's now 30-20. 4 turnovers today, all coming in the 4th quarter.
Very untimely decisions by Kirk Cousins. This is one of the things we talked about when this game began. The identity of Kirk Cousins. Is he a starter? Is he a backup? It's these crucial situations where he needs to be at his best. And unfortunately today, he is not. And he needs to, down the road, provide better consistent play throughout the entirety of the game and throughout the season if he wants to be a full-time starter in the NFL.
Meanwhile, Deshaun Jackson, 3 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. And Larry Fitzgerald having his best game of the year, 10 points off of 4 takeaways. And the Cardinals headed for 4-1 and a game in Oakland next week against the Raiders. This team continues to perform magic without so many of their stars, mostly on the defensive side.
And it speaks to that next man up mentality Bruce Arians has, because he was that guy with the Indianapolis Colts when he took over for Chuck Pagano. So he's been able to kind of spread that mantra to the rest of the team that it's a next man up mentality. They're all into it together, and they're really feeding off that at this point in time in the season.
Palmer with 2 touchdowns in the game, and the ball will be taken out on the 20 with 18 seconds remaining. Cardinals scored, took a 7-0 lead. The Redskins tied it up, led briefly by 3 points, and then Arizona took the lead, seesaw for a time. The Redskins were up by 1, and that's all she wrote.
And it was really, to me, the adjustments at halftime for the Arizona Cardinals. Defensive coordinator Todd Bowles did continue to do a nice job of pressuring Kirk Cousins, but then dropping guys out into zone coverage and be able to disguise enough to confuse him, where he ended up turning over the football.
Handoff to Roy Helu Jr. And he'll get it up to the 39. So the Redskins will lose their 9th consecutive road game. And the Cardinals snap an 8-game losing streak to the Redskins. Final score, Cardinals 30, Redskins 20. We'll be back to Arizona in just a moment.